in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. My family was originally a merchant household, and I am the second daughter. My mother passed away when I was just 8 years old. Outsiders said she died of illness, but I knew the truth. She was pregnant when she died. The doctor said it was likely a difficult birth. Back then, Master Chen still loved her, and naturally, he loved me too, holding me close to protect me. Madame Paula, my stepmother, appeared gentle on the surface. She always said she would let mother rest peacefully and help father expand the family line, but deep down, she was secretly poisoning my mother's food. My mother's belly swelled up like a balloon until it finally burst. Mother and child died together, 2 lives lost in one body. Before she left, mother told me not to seek revenge. She told me to forget everything, even her. She told me never to reveal myself or stand out. I had to learn to endure, to look out for myself, and above all, never to trust anyone easily. I had to master everything she taught me: calculation, painting, writing, without a single flaw. After mother died, Master Chen changed too. When my older brothers bullied me, he just stood and watched. He no longer defended me. He no longer handled things fairly. Once, when I was pushed into the lake and rescued, he only said that it was good I didn't die. When I was small, I didn't understand mother's words. Only when I grew older did I realize why father was so cruel, and why Madame Paula dared to act so recklessly. It was because Master Chen was merely a merchant, while Madame Paula, though a daughter of a concubine, came from a prestigious scholarly family in the capital. Her father was getting married. The father marrying her was climbing up. From the boastful words of my elder sister, Bella Chen, I learned that Madame Paula's younger sister had entered the palace, won the emperor's favor, and was even pregnant with a royal heir. Piecing together the clues, I understood the truth clearly. Even though I tried to hide myself and live meekly, Bella still secretly bullied me relentlessly. Sometimes she even used a brush to draw all over my face. I couldn't help but wonder, if I ruined this overly conspicuous face, would I be able to escape this sea of suffering in peace? Obviously, Madame Paula had no intention of letting me go. At the age of 16, I was as beautiful as a flower. Matchmakers came to propose, hoping to take me as a main wife, but Madame Paula tactfully refused them all. My sister-in-law's matchmaker warned me to be cautious and plan ahead, especially this time when Madame Paula took me to a banquet and dressed me up as brilliantly as flowers and leaves. The whole time, I was only more anxious. My heart pounded when a maid intentionally spilled tea on me. I knew clearly they were preparing to act. "Miss, please follow this servant." I looked at the turn in the road ahead, asking myself if fate was truly set and unchangeable. Was I really to be given away like an object, becoming a sacrifice for the Chen clan? No, I didn't want that. But did I have any other choice? Only one voice echoed in my head: "Run, Diana, run. If you don't run, your life will end. If you escape, you will be free. If you fail, only a rope awaits on the beam to end your life in tragedy. At least I will die clean." I pretended to have a stomachache and asked the maid to help me sit temporarily by the rockery. While she wasn't paying attention, I took a handkerchief soaked in sleeping powder and covered her nose. She fainted. It took a lot of effort to drag her into the hidden part of the rockery. Quickly, I stripped off the magnificent outfit, revealing the old maid's clothes I wore underneath. I removed all my jewelry, tied my hair into a simple braid, and walked out of the rockery, my eyes darting around like a thief. I hurried toward the back door. The old woman guarding the door saw me, and asked who I was and what I was doing. I rushed closer, pretending to strike up a conversation, then used the sleeping powder handkerchief to cover her nose too. She also fainted. I quickly opened the door, stepped out, closed it, and ran for my life to the main road. I hailed a carriage to leave the city. The driver asked where I wanted to go. Jingshan Temple. I didn't actually know the place. Everything I did was being watched. Throughout the journey, I had thought about how I would live once I was free. But truly, standing before the gates of Jingshan Temple, my heart was filled with panic and worry. I had nowhere left to go. With this face, and only a little money in hand, if I wasn't careful, I would be nothing more than meat amidst a pack of wolves. Waiting for the driver to leave, I immediately found a hidden corner to hide. I made myself look truly disheveled, then walked in a different direction. I hadn't tasted enough of life's bitterness. After walking only a short distance, my feet were torn and covered in blood blisters. I sat amidst the grass, laughing at myself. Laughing because I was too naive. Laughing because I was useless. But this was the path I chose. Even if my feet bled, I had to keep walking. And yet, when my whole body fell into a ditch filled with stinking water, and after several attempts to crawl up failed, I really couldn't hold it in anymore. I burst into tears. Suddenly, the sound of laughter rang out, making me even more panic. I just wanted to bury myself in that filthy water. Miss, do you need a hand? I hurriedly waved my hand, telling him to go away. I really didn't need it. Why was I so strange? Actually, I was just stubborn. It took so much effort to drag myself out of that ditch. Touching my sleeve, I discovered my money pouch was gone. Without a second of hesitation, I jumped back into the water to search. Oh my! The male voice exclaimed in surprise. I didn't care if he was surprised or shocked. Inside that money pouch was all my wealth, my only hope for the days ahead. Groping in the filth for a long time, I finally found the bag. I hugged it tight, crying and laughing at the same time. Miss, where is your home? Let me take you back. Go back and become a toy for those descendants again. Thank you for your kindness, sir, but I cannot go back. Before I ran away, perhaps I still had a name, but after this, even if I returned, the Chen family would have announced that I was dead and secretly sold me to someone else. I wouldn't even have a name left. All roads led to death. I only hope to die clean. To keep a shred of dignity. Thank you, sir. You look like an immortal, but I only know how to walk aimlessly. I continued walking with my current wretched appearance. I feared even Master Chen wouldn't recognize me. Behind me, the man still followed. Passers-by looked with disgust, frowning and cursing. Smelly beggar, get lost. That was actually good. The more they hated and avoided me, the safer I was. Luckily, the weather today was neither cold nor hot. The filth on my body didn't make me too cold, but it didn't chill me to the bone either. It was just that the man kept following, causing me no small amount of trouble. Sir, why do you keep following me? I see you are alone on a long journey with many dangers. I wish to escort you for a segment. Once you find a place to stay, I will leave. Truly a good person. But regrettably, I no longer easily trusted anyone. If he wanted to follow, let him. At least until I reached the next town. With someone walking behind me, the beggars who didn't mind the filth and wanted to try something bad with a woman wouldn't dare touch me. Ironically, guards from the Chen estate arrived. I was so scared my soul nearly left my body. Yet, they only glanced at me once and immediately left. Miss, do you really want to continue walking? I remained silent. Miss, this world is not as peaceful as you imagine. Every day, countless people are killed and die without a grave. Women being violated and humiliated are not few. I looked at him with resentment. I hated him for interfering in my business. I hated him for saying those words to me. I was already terrified and filled with regret. If I were a man, if I had parents who loved me, if I had a choice, would I have stepped onto this path of leaving home? I only needed to peacefully embroider wedding clothes, read books, write calligraphy, play the zither, paint, or compose a poem. Even if things were worse, if my mother were alive, she could have protected me somewhat. But now I have nothing. Even the maid despised that I paid too little. The maids had been bribed by Madame Paula. They were never of one mind with me. Death was on all four sides, but I hadn't reached the end of the road yet. I still wanted to try. The road became harder to walk. Hungry, tired. My whole body was aching. The sky grew darker. Fortunately, someone was following behind, saving me from the fear of some villain suddenly rushing out to drag me into the deep forest. Ahead, there seemed to be an abandoned house. Noises drifted from inside. Full vulgar words made my whole body tremble, cold to the bone. Miss, why not keep going? How dared I take another step? I only wished to get as far away from that dilapidated house as possible. I took a step back, then turned and ran in the opposite direction. Behind me, footsteps sounded, neither far nor near. I could clearly hear the man sounding annoyed. Sir, really, don't you know any better? Why do you want to manage the affairs of someone like that? I was ashamed and humiliated. I stopped, intending to lean against a tree to catch my breath, but unexpectedly, I leaned on empty air. My whole body fell to the ground. Oh miss, are you alright? The voice was worried but unintentionally dry. I didn't know if he truly wanted to help or was just pretending. But right now, I had no right to choose. I wasn't resigned to death, but living was no life at all. I lay flat on the ground and burst into loud sobs. Miss, if you truly have nowhere to go, let me send you home, if you can go home. I wasn't running away because I had nowhere to go. I had nothing left to cling to. I didn't know what the outside world was like. All these years, I was just a frog sitting at the bottom of a well, truly pitiful and ridiculous. Sir, please stay away from me. Let me live or die on my own. After saying those words, my heart felt like cold ash. I had no will left. But I still couldn't bear to die, so I just lay on the ground, closed my eyes, and pretended to be dead. Sir, look at this person who deserves to die but won't listen to advice. Just leave her be. Sir, let's go home. Go. Go quickly. Leave me here to fend for myself, I thought to myself, hoping they would go far away so I could end this in silence. Behind me, the man's voice rang out amidst the crunching footsteps. Miss, forgive me. A robe, fragrant with a precious scent, was draped over me. I intended to jump up and escape, but I felt a sharp pain in my neck. My whole body immediately went limp. I couldn't move. Couldn't even make a sound. Cold sweat poured out all over me. Then I was lifted up and carried onto a carriage heading back to the city. Sir, this kind of person isn't worth bothering with. If she wants to die, just let her die. The servant's voice sounded truly unpleasant. But from his perspective, perhaps he wasn't wrong. Throughout the bumpy journey, I didn't know where I was being taken, until a woman's voice rang out from outside. Lord Victor Lin, you have returned. This servant will immediately prepare hot water. Nanny Chen, take care of the young lady in the room, wash her clean, check if she has any injuries and apply medicine where needed. Yes. I was carried into a room by a few people. Several maids washed me with looks full of annoyance, but they were astonished by the items I carried on my body. Nanny Chen, look at this girl. Shut your mouths. Anyone who dares to say another word, watch out for your own necks. The maids all froze. Yes. Throughout the process, I could still feel everything but couldn't open my eyes or speak. Nanny Chen didn't let the maids gossip, but she herself muttered incessantly. Truly pitiful. Why are the injuries so severe? Outside, the male voice rang out again. Nanny Chen, is the young lady only lightly injured? Lord Victor Lin, do not worry. This young lady has quite a lot of schemes. This servant has never seen anyone carry 10 jade pendants, 3 gold bracelets, 4 silver bracelets, and 2 more jade bracelets. Inside her pouch there are also gold, silver and banknotes wrapped carefully in many layers of oil paper. She continued after a long silence. The man spoke. Nanny Chen, take good care of her. The Heir slowly left. I didn't even bother to care. A poor person traveling far, prepared to run away. How could I not bring my entire fortune? It was just that I never expected to meet the Heir. Coming from where, I didn't know. Hearing the Heir, my eyes involuntarily shot open. It was him. Him. I wondered in my heart, if I had known earlier that it was him, would I still have wanted to run? Thinking for a long time, I still decided that I would run. I was just a lowly merchant, while he stood high above, ruling the world. I was just dust beneath his feet. If he stepped on me, I feared I would only dirty his shoes. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity. Not because I wanted to offer myself to him, but because I wanted to use him. Whether it was a conspiracy or an open plot, I wanted to see if there was anything I could exchange to make him acknowledge me. If I could make him take me home and order my parents to find a good marriage for me, as long as the person wasn't too terrible. Being a bit poor didn't matter, as long as I could be the main wife. I couldn't endure the fate of being a concubine. My mother's death terrified me endlessly. After calculating, I was overwhelmed with fatigue and quickly fell into a deep sleep. I was woken by voices outside. Really not going in to call her. If something happens, what will we do? If the old nanny asks, just say the truth. What does her sleeping have to do with us? The old nanny is leaving in a few days anyway. Isn't she taking us back to the capital? Why fear her so much? Then a voice, neither cold nor hot, rang out. Is that so? Drag them out and sell them. Nanny, spare our lives. This servant knows her mistake. The arrogance from earlier immediately turned into fear. Their mouths were gagged, leaving only panicked muffled sounds. Do you all think that way too? This servant dares not. If you dare not, then do your duty well. Otherwise, that will be your end. The cold voice faded, and outside gradually became quiet again. I lay there. Couldn't sit up. I couldn't sleep. Nanny Chen's decisiveness made me understand that I should never play tricks. Otherwise, death would come with anyone knowing. So, I changed my plan. I decided to meet Lord Victor Lin to thank him directly. If heaven had mercy, perhaps he would help. If not, that was my fate. I couldn't blame anyone. I was nobody to him. Begging like this was somewhat presumptuous and rude, but I had reached a dead end with no other support. Even though it hurt, I tried to force myself up, gritting my teeth to endure. Then I spoke. Nanny, please inform Lord Victor that I wish to see him. Nanny Chen looked at me with eyes full of disdain, scrutinizing me from head to toe as if she didn't respect me in the slightest. You must know your own limits. Her words made me feel humiliated and ashamed, making my face flush red. I stood up but couldn't utter a word of rebuttal. She wasn't wrong. I needed to know who I was and where my position lay. Don't delusionally dream of climbing high. Don't dream vague dreams. With my status as a daughter of a concubine, I wasn't even worthy of carrying his shoes. After a moment of silence, I slowly sat down, looked into the mirror, and spoke calmly. Nenny, I have no intention of clinging to your family, let alone using Lord Victor. He helped me once. I only want to thank him directly and then leave. You say that, but if you have no intention of clinging, what is the difference between meeting him or not? Nanny Chen asked coldly. Miss, where is your home? I will send you back. I looked at Nanny Chen and suddenly smiled softly. If you agree to help me with one thing, I will do as you wish. You dare threaten me? Nanny Chen grit her teeth. I shook my head and replied. Of course not, I only want to discuss it with you. Actually, for you, Nanny, this matter is just a word to open or close your mouth. I continued while Nanny Chen stared at me as if I were pretending to be stupid. Seeing me fumbling with the little wealth I carried without paying her any mind, she finally asked what it was. I smiled. Lord Victor comes from the capital, correct? You do too, right? Hearing those words, my heart felt steady. Nanny, if you take me home, could you say a few words to my stepmother? Say that you saw I had an affinity with you and accepted me as a goddaughter. I hope that my stepmother can find me a decent marriage so I can be a main wife. When you return to the capital, you will speak well of the madam, praising stepmother for treating me well like her own daughter. Saying that, I held out 3 gold bracelets and 2 jade bracelets. This small gift is respectfully offered to you. Though you are just a servant, following your master outside shows that you have status in the eyes of the lady. Compared to me, a worthless concubine's daughter, you are far more noble. My father silently agreed to let my stepmother treat me like a gift to be given away, never objecting, but rather being satisfied with it. I didn't know if this hair came from a marquis's estate, a duke's estate, or a prince's estate. But just a nanny serving the hair was enough to be a support for me, helping me borrow the tiger's might. Well then, let's go. Nanny Chen accepted the gold and jade bracelets and urged me to leave. I glanced at the clothes on my body, not the outfit I wore yesterday, but just an old, tattered set. Asking more would be meaningless. My feet hurt, my body was tired. Walking was extremely difficult. I had to be helped onto the carriage. Nanny Chen frowned slightly, remaining silent, unclear what she was thinking. When we arrived at the gate of the Chen estate, my stepmother heard that a nanny from Prince Lin's estate had come, so she hurriedly came out to welcome her. Seeing me helped off the carriage, looking weak and unsteady on my feet, she frowned. At first, it was just a frown for a moment, but then she was immediately overjoyed. I didn't understand why she was so happy. Please come inside, Nanny Chen. Madam Paula, there is no need for formalities. Nanny Chen walked with a dignified air, every step majestic and full of authority. Because of my pain, I walked slower, while ahead, my stepmother was incessantly flattering her, speaking words of praise. So she knew how to speak pleasant words after all. Her nose wasn't always stuck in the air. What? I heard Nanny Chen say that. I and this young lady have a destiny, hoping the madam would find a good marriage for her. Stepmother's face looked like she had just swallowed something awful. Her expression changed immediately, but she still tried to smile awkwardly. Nanny Chen, you must be joking. Nanny Chen immediately turned cold, her face stern as she shouted. Madam Chen, you can eat rice indiscriminately, but you cannot speak indiscriminately. If you dare to drag Lord Victor into this, consider if the Chen family can withstand the wrath of Prince Lin's estate. Stepmother started trembling, her mouth quivering. Nanny Chen taught me well. I will quickly find her a good marriage and marry her off properly. That is good. Madam, decide on her marriage soon to avoid me having to report back to the Heir when I return to the capital. I dare not. I dare not. Stepmother replied hastily. After seeing Nanny Chen out, she returned and slapped me straight in the face several times. Useless things. Your body has been defiled by someone, yet you couldn't even keep a status. What use are you? I held my face, numb with pain, trying to explain that I was still clean and had no intimate contact with the Heir. But before I could finish, Father walked in fast and asked stepmother what happened. What else? Your good daughter was played with all night and sent back. They even demanded I find a good marriage for her. I thought father would have pity. Unexpectedly, he slapped me straight away, knocking me to the ground. Still not angry enough, he kicked me several times, aiming straight for my vital spots. He beat me while cursing. Vile creature. You are as filthy as your mother. Drag her down. My father screamed. It is forbidden to give her food or drink. I was dragged away like a dead dog and thrown into the room. The pain was so intense my whole body felt broken. Two old women even searched me relentlessly, taking everything I had on me. My body was in agony, as if my internal organs were all damaged. In despair, I looked up at the roof beam, wondering if I could live any longer. On the surface, they made promises, but behind my back, they beat me miserably. It was my fault. I was too naive in overestimating the human heart, underestimating their cruelty and ruthlessness. I was truly stupid to think I could find a way out. Filled with resentment and dissatisfaction, I finally understood why Mother had said those words before she passed away. Perhaps she had seen through the nature of the person beside her. I also admired myself because, right at this moment, I didn't shed a single tear. Life, death, reputation, I cast them all aside. If I had a chance to turn the tables, I would seize it. Suddenly, a gentle voice rang out. "Miss, are you all right?" I lay still on the ground, not moving. Why was he here? How did he get in? Did he come through the main gate or climb the wall? The person continued. "I have punished Nanny Chen. She shouldn't have accepted your things." I turned my head to look at him. He was startled and took a few steps back. "Miss, were you beaten?" My face must have been swollen. If it were before, I would have been ashamed to the extreme, wanting to find a hole to crawl into. But now, I just wanted to live. I just wanted to escape the Chen family. Between me and the Chen family, everything had ended. So, I reached out my hand. "Save me." He stood there, his eyes full of pity that I didn't understand. I tried to stand up but fell down heavily. My whole body was in pain. My mouth opened to breathe, and I felt blood leaking from the corner of my mouth. At first, I could hold back from crying, but I knew clearly that sometimes tears are the most effective weapon when dealing with men. So, I burst into tears. "Miss Chen," he called, but I didn't bother to answer. At first, I cried only to beg for a little sympathy, but then I was truly heartbroken. I cried for my wretched fate, cried for having no one to rely on. He walked away. Outside, a gentle voice ran out. "The Lord has returned." After that, there was no more sound. No wife, no one would care about me forever. I understood that the decision to leave the Chen family, to leave that filthy mud puddle, was correct. I looked up at the roof beam. Usually, it looked high and far away, but today it seemed close. A belt could be wrapped around it, or even a set of clothes would be enough. That thought made me shudder. No, to die in glory is not as good as living in shame. I wanted to live. But wanting to live was easy, wanting to live with dignity was too difficult. I didn't know if I had slept or fainted, but when I woke up, I found myself lying in bed with a maid serving beside me. The jewelry that had been taken to bribe Nanny Chen was now placed neatly on a small chair by the bed. "Mrs. Awake. I am Fanny, sent by Lord Victor to serve you." Fanny asked quickly. "Miss, are you thirsty? Do you want to drink water? Or do you want to change your clothes? Do you feel any better? The doctor came to examine you and prescribed medicine. Carrie is currently brewing it under the eaves. Do you want to drink it hot or let it cool down?" She kept asking incessantly, her voice twittering but full of vitality. I reached out my hand. She immediately stepped forward to help me up and straighten my appearance. Fanny whispered, "Lord Victor about your situation, so he punished Nanny Chen. Right now, your parents are still kneeling in the courtyard. The Heir said that only when you wake up may they stand." Hearing this, my eyes widened in disbelief. Was he defending me? A bit of ambition suddenly rose in my heart, but it vanished immediately. How could I dream of such things? Those thoughts were an insult to him. "Miss, do you want to go out and say a word?" Fanny asked softly. I raised my eyebrows and replied, "Am I awake yet?" Fanny was briefly surprised, but immediately regained her composure. "Miss is still in a coma." I smiled at her. Just then Carrie brought the medicine in. I suppressed the bitterness and took small sips. "Lord Victor is outside," Fanny said. Sophie is also following him. The Heir didn't just come to Jiangnan to enjoy the scenery. I asked about my injuries. "What did the doctor say?" Fanny replied, "Internal organs are damaged. You need to rest and recover your strength, otherwise, there will be lasting effects." I groaned softly. The beatings that rained down on me almost took my life. I hoped I could cast off the heavy debt of birth and upbringing. If only it could be so. Suddenly, a scream rang out from outside. "Diana Chen, get out here right now. You shameless wretch." It was the cursing of my eldest sister, Bella Chen. Fanny frowned slightly, looking out the door, and asked, "There are 2 old women guarding out there. She cannot get in. Miss, do you want me to chase her away?" As she spoke, she stepped outside and shouted coldly, My mistress is resting. Shut your mouth immediately. Bella roared. Who are you to argue with me, you dog servant? Gag her mouth and drag her to the main hall for Sophie to handle. We are family. We should stand shoulder to shoulder. Parents are kneeling. Why do you stand outside to show filial piety? You should kneel with them. The noises outside grew louder. I leaned against the headboard, holding my breath to listen. So, this is what it feels like to be protected. When Fanny returned, I whispered a thank you. She smiled and replied that it was just her duty. Miss is still in pain, please rest more. I no longer worried about the chaotic matters, nor did I need to fear being sold or married off to someone arbitrarily. I peacefully fell asleep to recover. Eating and sleeping these days were all taken care of by someone. I often sat reading books and sunbathing. Life passed leisurely and peacefully. The doctor came to check my pulse and praised that I was recovering very well. I knew it was all thanks to the efforts of Fanny and the maids. When I wanted to reward them with silver, they refused. So I said, then go buy some paint. I will paint a picture for you. At first, Fanny and the girls were a little expectant, but not much. Until the first painting was finished, everyone was excited. Oh my, is this me? Fanny exclaimed. It really looks like this painting. Although not exactly identical, it must be 90% alike. Miss, these paintings are worth a fortune. Fanny said unintentionally, but I thought deeply. I could paint landscapes, flowers, birds, and animals, then ask them to take them out to see if they could be sold. When I realized I could earn money, I buried myself in work, forgetting to eat or rest. I hadn't seen many mountains and rivers, so I could only paint the flowers and grass in the garden. Fanny and Carrie praised that the paintings were as vivid as real life. They took the paintings out that very day and brought back silver. 6 or 7 paintings sold for 100 silver taels. Miss, Fanny said, the shopkeeper said because you have no reputation, he can only sell them for that much. But when your reputation spreads, the price will be even higher. I smiled and replied that it was already good enough. I took out 50 taels and asked Fanny to divide it equally among everyone. Looking at the remaining 50 taels, I hugged them happily and kissed them lightly. Finally, I could earn money myself. From now on, no matter where I went, I wouldn't worry about starving or sleeping on the street due to lack of silver. Occasionally, I asked Fanny to take paintings to sell. Each time brought back 100 taels of silver. I shared a part with the girls and kept the rest. During this time, Master Chen sent someone to call me to the study many times. In my heart, Father was now just Master Chen. My body had recovered, and I knew I needed to meet him once. Stepping out of the courtyard, I realized my heart had changed somewhat. No longer fearful and reserved as before, I walked out of the study feeling much more confident than before. Taking a deep breath, I gently entered and called out, Father. But my heart no longer felt any sense of belonging. Daughter, that day I was angry and confused, so I accidentally raised my hand against you. These past days, I have regretted it very much, he said. I listened silently, my heart unruffled. He spoke for a very long time, then looked at me. Can you forgive Father? Forgive what? Forgive you for scolding me, or forgive you for beating me? I asked seriously, causing him to get angry and smash everything on the table, looking at me with fury. Good, good, you are truly capable. The father-daughter bond between me and Master Chen had long ceased to exist, or perhaps it never did. He chased me out of the study. I immediately turned and walked away without hesitation. His words in the room were full of malice and bitterness, but I only felt relieved. He didn't love my mother, nor did he love me. In his eyes, there was only profit. Kinship to him was just something that could be bought and sold. I returned to my small courtyard, expecting nothing more. How could I be disappointed or heartbroken? When I returned, Fanny reminded me that the Heir was about to return to the capital. A busy person like him really should return. Miss, do you not want to say anything to the Heir before he leaves? Fanny asked softly. I remained silent, my heart in turmoil. But what use was speaking? I had no ability to repay his kindness. Empty promises wouldn't help. I didn't even respect myself. Miss, have you ever thought about going to the capital? Fanny asked again. I smiled slightly and shook my head. Go to the capital. With what status would I go? The Heir brings me back, who will I be? If he has someone in his heart, how will he explain? And if his family has arranged a marriage for him, where will I stand in his life? People marry noble young ladies. If Lord Victor chooses me, will the Emperor be suspicious? That question lingered in my head when Fanny spoke about the power struggles and evasion in the imperial court. Those in high positions thought of strategies. I was just a person at the bottom of society, How could I understand? I thought to myself, if he doesn't choose a noble, would he choose a lowly person like me, a tiny concubine's daughter? I dared not dream that thought. I didn't discuss much with Fanny. I quietly copied the Diamond Sutra to express my gratitude to the Heir. Feeling it wasn't enough, I copied another sutra of peace to offer to him. On the day of the meeting, I went out and arranged to sit in a carriage to the meeting place. When the carriage stopped in front of the door, I was surprised to see young girls before my eyes. Everyone was wearing magnificent makeup, looking strangely beautiful. I looked at Fanny and Carrie in confusion, but the two girls just shook their heads, indicating they didn't know the situation. Fine then. What will come will come. I reassured myself. Miss, please come this way. A voice called out. I saw several young ladies whispering softly. I don't know if I will be chosen. I was surprised. Choosing what? I was led to a seat not too far, nor too close, a position right in the middle. I saw a few people looking at me, not understanding what was about to happen. Right when I heard a voice full of disdain, I turned my head back. I saw a few young ladies laughing and whispering among themselves, occasionally glancing at me. I thought I would feel uncomfortable, but strangely, my heart didn't ripple at all. Neither pain nor shyness. Unexpectedly, my face had become so thick. Lord Victor presented a few questions, asking the young ladies to answer carefully. Those who answered correctly would continue to the next round. A group of maids quickly approached, carrying trays of ink, brushes, and Chen paper. There were 3 questions on the paper. I looked around and realized everyone had different questions, and there was no extra paper. Clearly, one had to calculate in their head. Some frowned in worry. Some quickly wrote down the answers. I thought for a moment and also wrote down the correct answer. Even though I didn't know the purpose of the contest, I still didn't want to miss any opportunity. After writing, the maid collected the paper and announced it immediately. Congratulations, Miss has passed. Those who were eliminated immediately burst into tears. The second round was accounting ledgers. A pile of ledgers was brought out to be completed in a short time. The ledgers were clearly carefully arranged, full of errors and traps. I sat before the table, gently sliding each bead of the abacus. Finally, I produced the profit figure from the fabric sales, which had covered all the previous deficits. The maid stepped forward, smiling, and said, "Congratulations, Miss has passed." Hearing this, Fanny and Carrie were extremely overjoyed. I was led to the third round. This time it was still calculation, but there were more ledgers, and the time was limited to just 1 stick of incense. I thought to myself, perhaps they were looking for a woman proficient in bookkeeping. I had learned these skills at the Chen family, but not many people knew. I flipped pages with my left hand, while my right hand pushed the abacus beads, careful with every detail. When the incense had just burned out, I had only 2 books left uncalculated. I calmly wrote down my final number and put down the brush. The maid approached to lead me away. I asked if they wanted to send me home. "Just follow me, and you will see," the maid replied. I was led into another room. On the wall hung several tattered, patchy paintings. In a corner of the table were arranged ink, brushes, and resin. "Please restore one of the paintings on the wall," she said. Every painting was heavily damaged. Restoration required not only artistic skill but also imagination and deep knowledge. I had painting skills, but my knowledge was limited. My imagination was also limited because of that. "Do you really not want to try again?" the maid persisted in advising, but I shook my head firmly. Carrie also pleaded. "Miss, please try once. We have reached this step." I looked into her eyes, seeing a look full of pleading, and thought of the other young ladies. Everyone desired to reach the final round. Everyone wished to become the winner. "Fanny, do you know something?" I asked. But she only shook her head. Her clear eyes showed she honestly didn't know anything. I stopped questioning, and started observing the composition of the peony painting. It seemed it wasn't just a painting of peonies but contained other elements like butterfly wings, or even a cat's tail. I tilted my head to look closely and discovered a part at the very bottom that looked like a cat's tail. This must be the painting titled Cat, Butterfly, Wealth, and Honor. As in our language, the words for cat and butterfly sound similar to the words for longevity at 70 or 80 years old. I immediately called Fanny over and asked, "Do you think it looks like a cat's tail?" She nodded in confirmation. "True, it seems to be a cat and a butterfly." I started painting the peonies and sat back in the chair, pondering the mood of the person who painted this. Perhaps it was a gift offered to ancestors or respected teachers. Whoever it was for, The painting contained joy and sincere blessings, hoping they would live 100 years, with the family reunited, 4 or even 5 generations living together. Looking at the tattered painting on the wall, I took inspiration from the remaining peonies and decided to add the cat and butterfly. I focused on painting. Fanny assisted in mixing colors and cleaning brushes. It wasn't until the sky was nearly dark that I put down the brush, completing the painting. Fanny exclaimed in surprise. "Miss, this painting is truly wonderful. Looking at it feels so joyful, so happy." When a maid from outside walked in, her gaze stopped on the easel, and she was momentarily stunned. She intended to reach out and touch the painting, but Fanny stopped her. "You are not allowed to touch this painting. It must be presented to Lord Victor by the miss herself." That maid frowned slightly, then sneered. "You really dare to talk big? Do you think Lord Victor is someone anyone can meet?" Fanny replied firmly. "I don't know about others, but my miss will definitely meet him." The maid still wanted to reach out and take the painting, but Fanny quickly threw her to the ground. The maid fell flat, then hurriedly stood up, looking at us furiously, shouting loudly, "You dare act rashly, guards." Before long several middle-aged women appeared. All bowed respectfully and called out, "Sister Tanya." Tanya's eyes were full of arrogance. She smugly ordered, "Chase them out." But Fanny quickly slapped her straight in the face, and when the old woman intended to rush in, she immediately pulled out a token from her robes. "This is Lord Victor's token. I want to see who dares to move." The old woman didn't recognize the token, but Tanya knew it clearly. She tried to snatch the token but was kicked down by Fanny. Only now did I know Fanny knew martial arts. The noise in the room quickly attracted attention, causing many people to come. When Nanny Chen entered, her face showed a serious expression. But as soon as she saw me, she immediately bowed to pay respects. "Old servant greets the young lady." I bowed slightly in return. "Nanny Chen, long time no see. Are you well?" At this moment, Tanya's face turned from bright red to pale. She intended to say something, but Fanny spoke quickly. "Nanny Chen, this Tanya is truly a traitor, accepting silver from another young lady to switch my miss's painting." Fanny even grabbed Tanya's wrist, showing the jade bracelet on her hand to Nanny Chen. "Gold and silver have a price, but jade is priceless, let alone a rare, transparent jade bracelet like this. How could a maid like her possess it?" Tanya trembled, continuously begging Nanny Chen, "Please spare my life. Nanny Chen, please spare my life." But Nanny Chen said nothing, only glancing behind her. Immediately, a few people stepped forward, gagged Tanya, and dragged her out. As for Tanya's fate, I feared no one could predict it. Dead or alive, I asked myself, but soon realized that I could hardly preserve myself, let alone have the mind to worry about others. Nanny Chen signaled for me to wait a moment, then quickly left the room, taking my painting with her. Fanny's face was radiant, but I just took a sip of tea and said nothing. "Miss, surely you will win the highest prize," she said. I smiled faintly and asked back, "And then what?" Fanny fell silent. She knew that noble families never organized a loud contest to choose a main wife. That matter usually happened in secret. Only after careful investigation and inspection would a matchmaker come to propose marriage. "Miss, do you not want it?" Fanny asked again. I replied, "I am ready to give my all because I want the world to know that I have ability. That in this world there is a person like me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shown anything but hidden myself away." Not long after, Nanny Chen returned. She bowed and asked me, "Miss, can I ask you to restore a few more paintings?" I smiled and replied, "Certainly. But it is already dark today, I will return tomorrow." Nanny Chen respectfully saw me to the door. I stood straight, stepping through the large gate. Outside, some of the failed young ladies were crying while their maids stood by comforting them. When they saw Nanny Chen personally seeing me off, their eyes immediately turned red with jealousy. A small girl asked quietly, "Who is that?" Another person replied, "She seems to be from the Chen family, but not the main house, probably just a side branch." That's right. My family is indeed a side branch. The Chen family is wealthy, but we have no power. My family also has some wealth, but compared to the main branch, it is just a drop in the ocean. When I returned home and washed up, someone from the main family arrived to convey a message. Lady Margaret invites the second miss over to choose fabrics. Stepmother's face was full of annoyance, while my elder sister, Bella Chen, revealed clear hatred. Father wanted to say something several times but stopped. I calmly refused. "Tomorrow I still have to go paint. It is not convenient to go today. In a few days I will personally go to meet Lady Margaret to apologize." The messenger was a bit surprised, remained calm, bowed and left. An hour later, More than 10 rolls of magnificent, brightly colored fabric were sent over. The lady grants these to the miss, saying you should use them to make clothes. The lady of the Chen family grants a reward. The messenger said. I bowed my head in thanks, knowing that this was one of the lady's most capable attendants, the daughter of a wet nurse in the Chen family. Looking at the exquisite silk in front of me, my heart laughed softly. It turned out that what I wanted wasn't too difficult to achieve. Stepmother's teaching was truly correct. Relying on anyone is not as good as relying on yourself. Whatever you learn, you must learn it thoroughly. When the time comes, you will shine and naturally get what you wish. My fingers gently glided over the smooth, cold pieces of fabric. Memories of the days imprisoned in the small courtyard came flooding back. Those days with no servants, no one to talk to. I only knew how to paint on leftover Schwan paper, repeating it until the pages were black with ink. When there was no ink, I used rainwater. Those days were full of loneliness and resentment. But now, I clearly understood the wish of my stepmother. The matriarch of the Chen family, high and mighty, would she ever pay attention to a concubine's daughter from a side branch like me? My status wasn't even equal to her maid's. Now, suddenly changing her attitude, I knew the reason very well. But precisely because I knew clearly, I didn't let myself be blinded by a few rolls of silk. The next morning, I went to the Heir's villa to continue copying paintings, one picture each day. After finishing, I returned. I had never met the Heir, nor had I seen the faces of the other young ladies. I thought I only needed to copy a few paintings, but Nanny Chen brought another stack of paintings. Even a horse or a donkey needs time to rest. Miss Chen, you can take these paintings home and slowly redraw them. When finished, just have someone bring them over, Nanny Chen said. All right, I replied. Then, together with Fanny, I carried the paintings back. Just as I was preparing to leave, I didn't expect to meet Lord Victor. He bowed to greet me with a gentle smile. Miss Chen, long time no see. Are you well? I returned the bow, speaking sincerely. This commoner bows to thank the Heir for his saving grace. After speaking, I knelt down and respectfully kowtowed 3 times. Lord Victor was flustered and wanted to help me up, but then thought it was inappropriate. He whispered to Fanny, "Help your mistress up." Fanny immediately rushed to lift me up. Lord Victor spoke softly. Miss Chen, can we sit in the garden and talk for a moment? He was the one who saved my life, and he was a righteous gentleman. I trusted he wouldn't take advantage of the situation. Therefore, I agreed. When he asked if I was willing to return to the capital with him, my heart was in turmoil with all kinds of emotions. The noble young master whom I respected, was he also just a common man lusting after flesh and desire? I asked softly. My lord, with what status would a girl like me follow you to the capital? In ancient times, they said, run to be a concubine, marry to be a wife. If I agreed to be a concubine, someone would have enjoyed it long ago. There would be no need to struggle and run away. I bowed my head. I will never forget the Heir's saving grace. If I cannot repay it in this life, I promise to repay it in the next. Lord Victor's eyes suddenly lit up. He laughed lightly. I only asked one question, yet you thought so much. My face suddenly flushed red. I didn't know what he meant. Could it be that I misunderstood? Lord Victor asked softly. So, you don't want to be a concubine? Then what kind of husband do you wish to marry? I thought for a moment and replied. Of course, my husband must be a man of both literary and martial talents, with outstanding ability, looking as majestic as a dragon or phoenix. He can wield a brush to pacify the world and ride a horse to settle the mountains and rivers. More importantly, he must love me, respect me, protect me, and walk through life with me without having 2 hearts. I laughed bitterly. But what do I have here? Only face a body, who sees my clear and pure soul, who truly cherishes, loves, and understands me. I paused and sighed. Men who marry for true love, how many are there? If there is someone who loves me and protects me, even if poor, I am willing to live and die with him. But if there is no love, as long as they have the ability, it doesn't matter how many concubines they want to take. I begged to take my leave. I returned to my small courtyard. I hadn't even reached the courtyard when I was summoned by Lady Margaret Chen of the main family. In truth, none of the ladies in the Chen family were easy people. The fact that she killed concubines and mistreated stepchildren, who didn't know. In this world, those who help when you are in trouble are rare. Everyone just wants to add more glory when things are already good. I understood, so I didn't mind. Even stepping into the main family's villa, a place full of wealth and luxury, I kept my gaze straight and walked steadily. Madam, the second miss has arrived. The lady of the main branch was beautiful and dignified, with a gentle and pure smile. It was said that her father once held a high position. Although she was a daughter of a concubine, she was married off before her family's assets were confiscated. Even though her family met with misfortune, she was still respected by her husband's family and maintained her position as the main wife. In the manor, no concubine dared to oppose her. This proved her methods were not ordinary. "Come sit next to me." Seeing I didn't move, she was a bit flustered but still smiled and said, "According to etiquette, you should call me aunt." I immediately bowed. "Niece greets Aunt Margaret," she hastily replied. "No need for that, come here quickly." She pulled me to sit next to her. First, she praised my temperament, then praised me for understanding etiquette, being filial and obedient. But she absolutely did not praise my beauty. This made me understand even more clearly why no one could shake her position for so many years. "Aunt Margaret is truly fond of you. Do you want to stay here for a few days with me?" I replied. "I am only afraid of disturbing Aunt." She immediately said, "I like young girls. You are energetic and cheerful. Having you here makes it even more lively." Since she had opened her mouth, I couldn't refuse. Even though I knew clearly she wanted to use me to approach the heir, I couldn't resist. Before the banquet, someone arrived from the southern guesthouse announcing a poetry and painting contest. The winner would receive a grand gift from the heir. Some curiously asked what that big reward was, but no one knew clearly. Aunt Margaret immediately told me to paint a picture to bring over to win the reward from the heir. Everyone had to give their all. I immediately replied, "Aunt, rest assured, I will definitely try my best to compete with the sisters. If I lose, it is because my skills are inferior. But if I win, it is thanks to the family's reputation. It is a matter where both sides benefit." I saw chrysanthemums blooming under the shade of orchid trees in autumn, so I immediately started mixing colors and painting. Before long, vivid chrysanthemums appeared on the paper. Fanny said, "This painting is no different from real flowers." I brought the chrysanthemum painting to present to Aunt Margaret. She smiled brightly and praised it. "Today we have crab dishes. It is truly fitting for the occasion." Wait until the other young ladies also finished their paintings. All were sent away at the same time. One stick of incense later, a maid returned with the results, happily saying, "Congratulations, our young lady has won first prize." I didn't know if it was due to my painting skills or some other reason, but Victor's reward was extremely generous, a house and a farm with 100 acres of fertile land. It was truly abundant. Congratulations rang out from all sides. I just smiled lightly. Whether sincere or fake, I had received practical benefits. The house gave me a place to stay, and the farm was the foundation for my livelihood. Victor was truly generous. He even handed over the deeds of sale for Fanny and the maids to me. When I went to take over the house, I discovered he also left a lot of silver and precious objects for me. As long as I wasn't wasteful or encountered war, I could live a prosperous and full life. "Miss, these are the deeds of sale for the young servants in the manor. Please take a look," Fanny said as she handed over the papers, then carefully suggested, "This servant will put them in the locked cabinet immediately." I held the deeds of sale, my heart overflowing with emotions, and sighed softly. "This grace is as big as the sky. How can I ever repay it?" Fanny smiled and replied, "Miss can repay him with her body." I smiled lightly and spoke sternly. "Fanny, from now on, you are not allowed to say such things." When I moved out of the house, father didn't object, and stepmother didn't say much. Aunt Margaret sent me a warm gift of chrysanthemums. I also received invitation cards from many places a few times, but I didn't attend. I only wished to live a simple and peaceful life. However, supporting such a large household wasn't easy. Even though Victor left a lot of money, I couldn't just sit and spend it all. After half a month, a few cooks tried making some types of pastries. In the past days, my grocery store sold all kinds of goods, from smoked meat and sausages to salted vegetables and dried radishes, making business more prosperous than ever. I divided the profit into 3 parts after deducting costs. I kept 7 and divided the rest equally among the servants in the manor. Everyone received peace of mind, and everyone worked together with one heart. They wanted to continue living such warm days, so naturally, they would protect me with all their might. I had decided not to marry because I had met someone like Victor. Even if I married someone else, they couldn't make me happy. I hid the silent, unspeakable love deep in my heart, and only late at night dared to secretly think about it. Every time I remembered, I couldn't help but smile, and my sleep that night was also sweeter. Time flew by, and it was already the 12th lunar month. The grocery business was still prospering. Everyone was busy but filled with excitement because business was so good. Fanny tapped the abacus, calculating. Let's see how much silver we will earn by the 27th or 28th of the 12th month. Miss, should we keep the shop open until New Year's Eve? Not only Fanny thought so, but others in the manor also agreed. But I replied, money can never all be earned. Opening until the 25th is enough. Next year, after the 15th of the first month, open the door again. After months of hard work, we should also sit down to rest and see how much we have earned, how everyone's share will be divided. Once you have silver in hand, whatever you want to do or buy, just happily enjoy it. I had passed the age of 16 and stepped into 17, but no one called me back home for the new year. Perhaps they all silently admitted that I belonged to Victor, or thought I was keeping myself for him. My father was even more ridiculous. He sent someone to tell me to return home on the second day of the new year, the day a married daughter returns to visit her birth mother. What would I return for? To lower myself? I didn't care. I just happily divided the silver with Fanny and the servants, then went everywhere shopping. For the first time, I spent money without worry. Buying everything, regardless of whether it was useful or not minding if the price was expensive or cheap. Everything I once wished for but couldn't have, I now bought just to fill the regrets. I had thought that doing so wouldn't bring true joy. But clearly, it wasn't so. We wrapped sticky rice cakes with all kinds of fillings together, watching the young guards pounding rice cakes while the cakes were still hot, rolling them in a layer of fragrant roasted soybean powder. Taking a bite, the flavor was truly wonderful. There were also golden kumquats skewered on sticks, dipped in sugar syrup, tasting sour and sweet like candied hawthorn. I also received a letter from the capital. Victor sent it, asking me that if there were enough betrothal gifts, and a marriage letter with the 3 ceremonies and 6 rites, would I be willing to take him as my husband. Holding the letter in my hand, I was stunned, my heart in turmoil. Miss, please reply quickly. The voice in my ear was very clear but also very noisy. That's right, miss. Reply to Lord Victor quickly. This servant will grind ink and spread paper for you. If Miss trusts him, little D can go to the capital himself as fast as possible to hand the letter to Lord Victor. There were clear voices all around, but my mind was confused, my heart beating wildly as if it didn't belong to me. I walked to the table, took the brush, but couldn't write. Fanny pushed the brush into my hand, urging, Miss, write quickly. Everything is ready, hoping the letter reaches Lord Victor soon. I held the brush, but the 2 words, I will, felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Miss, write quickly. Amidst the urging, Fanny spoke up. Everyone withdraw. Let the miss be quiet alone in the room. Only I remained. I knew they were still waiting outside, holding their breath silently, daring not to make a loud noise. Picking up the letter again, I looked back at each short line of text and thought forever. Could it be he was facing some trouble, and needed to marry me to blind the world's eyes? My mind spun with a myriad of thoughts. I didn't believe he truly cared for me, simply loving me. Finally, I replied that I wanted to meet him once. I didn't let little D take the letter with them. Instead, I sent it slowly, step by step, hesitating to return, to give him time to rethink. If he wanted to change his mind, let my beautiful dream last a little longer. From before the new year until March, the sun shone brightly. But there was still no reply from Victor. I fell ill constantly, my mood depressed. I couldn't eat well, couldn't sleep well. Although doctors were invited and medicine was plentiful, it was useless. By the end of March, as April approached, flowers bloomed brilliantly everywhere, and fruits were already spotting the branches with green. Yet, there was still no news from Victor. I thought it was time to wake up from my dream. I decided to stay for a few days at a nunnery to purify my soul. If I continued to be this depressed, I feared my health would collapse. Kneeling before the goddess of mercy, tears streamed down. I comforted myself, if it happens, it is fate, if it is lost, it is destiny. Miss, it is already mid-April, let's go home, Fanny gently advised. Regarding the marriage with Victor, she was no longer as excited as in the beginning. She even harbored more blame in her heart than I did. Victor sent a letter and then went completely silent, causing me to fall ill and hurting my heart. Perhaps that letter wasn't written by the Heir himself, but merely someone testing the waters. Thinking so, my heart felt both ashamed and sorrowful. Let's go back. I am just a mortal. Thinking about worldly matters before the goddess of mercy is truly inappropriate. When I returned home, from the gatekeeper to the sweepers, everyone looked at me with strange eyes, seemingly hiding joy but trying to appear casual. Was business at the grocery store prospering even more? until I saw a white, robed figure approaching from afar. At first, I was stunned. Then, I couldn't hold back the grievance and sadness. Tears just flowed. Until he stood in front of me and gently asked, "Why are you crying?" I forgot all etiquette and rushed into his arms. He stiffened. His mouth said this was not in accordance with propriety, but his arms hugged me tightly. He gently apologized. "I came late." Just that sentence was enough to warm my heart. I had so many things to ask him, but I didn't know where to start. He gently pushed me away. His face flushed red. He stood a bit further away before speaking. "Let's talk as a family, not in the study. Talking about love requires a pavilion." Even though he said that letter was just a joke, in a spacious and airy place like the pavilion, I wouldn't feel constrained. We walked into the pavilion. Fanny prepared tea and pastries, then withdrew to a distance where she could see but couldn't hear us talking. I looked at Victor. He looked at me. Both were silent. After a long while, he seemed nervous, drank several cups of tea in a row, then finally spoke. "Back then, inviting you to return to the capital with me was a bit abrupt. On the way, I thought constantly about how to tell my family that I loved you and wanted to marry you as my main wife with full rights. I thought it would be very difficult, thinking forever about how to speak tactfully. But in the end, I didn't need to use any of it. My parents only asked about your character, and when I was determined to make my feelings clear, they agreed immediately." He continued. "I immediately wrote a letter, using an 800-mile urgent express to send it to you. I only hoped you understood my heart and that I had no intention of humiliating you. Receiving your reply, I prepared my luggage, intending to set off immediately. But something happened in the imperial court. The crown prince was injured and poisoned. I knew the reason he arrived late and understood his difficulties, so I couldn't help but ask anxiously, 'How is the crown prince now? Have the traitors been caught?' Victor replied. 'The crown prince has recovered. As for the traitors, only puppets were brought out as scapegoats.' I saw him full of indignation, so I gently comforted him. 'If there are puppets, why not trace them to investigate? Start with those around them, then trace to their friends and relatives. Although complicated and troublesome, some traces will definitely be revealed. Even if nothing is gained, I know you tried your best, but there might be unexpected joys.' Victor laughed softly. He said I didn't just understand clearly but also had a broad mind. I just smiled and replied, 'I am just a clear-sighted outsider.' We looked at each other and smiled. Then I couldn't control my heart and asked him why he paid attention to me. He shook his head slightly. 'I can't explain clearly. At first, it was just curiosity watching you. I saw you when you were weak but also very resilient, sometimes suffering grievances but never resigned. You are the most special woman I have ever met. Your beauty is one part, but it is your interesting soul and intelligence that truly captivated me.' He continued, 'I have met many beautiful women, but to me, they were just people who needed help. I was willing to help, but nothing more. Beautiful appearances can be found everywhere, but an interesting soul is extremely rare.' Then he added, 'This time my 2 aunts also came, along with my other aunts and uncles' wives. As for my uncles, they are officials in the imperial court and couldn't come personally. I hope you don't mind.' Victor apologized and stood up to bow to me, making me extremely surprised. He hadn't even eaten yet but hurriedly left, saying he had to prepare the betrothal gifts. Before leaving, he told me to wait for him. Victor arrived like a drop of water in a pan of hot oil, stirring up the entire Chen clan that had long forgotten me. They constantly sent invitations for me to attend banquets or wanted to visit me. Even Lady Margaret personally came to see me. 'The Heir has come to see your uncle. Have you thought about the wedding?' I pondered for a long time then replied, 'I haven't decided yet.' She spoke gently. 'My intention, and your uncle's, is for you to move back here. When the engagement or wedding happens, I will handle everything for you. Child, I love you like my own daughter and won't let you be disadvantaged.' But, not disadvantaged. Here only meant generous betrothal gifts. In this life, wealth is the foundation to settle down and establish one's destiny. I replied, 'Please give me 2 days to think.' But actually, thinking was just an excuse. I wanted to ask Victor's opinion. I gently said, 'If it were my own decision, I wouldn't hesitate to agree.' Aunt Margaret laughed. 'Good. Then I will return in 2 days.' After she left, I immediately sent someone to invite Victor. He came very quickly, sweat still beaded on his face. I ordered water and personally wrung out a towel to hand to him. Victor was briefly surprised, then his face showed joy. He accepted the towel naturally. After drinking a few sips of tea to calm down, I told him about Lady Margaret's plan. Victor was silent for a while, then said, "Last time at the banquet, Master Chen mentioned this. There is also a sum of 2,000,000 silver taels, intended to be taken in the name of your dowry to bring back to the capital, asking the prince's estate to offer it to His Highness the Crown Prince." I wasn't surprised to hear him say refused. He was indeed upright, pure as moonlight. I thought to myself, but then I couldn't help asking, "Why did you refuse such a large sum of money? It could do many things. Buying food to help the poor could save so many lives." Victor laughed loudly. I suddenly felt a bit ashamed. Was I carrying the scent of money? I told myself, living in this world, food, clothing, shelter, and travel all need money. He didn't pretend to be high and mighty, nor was he wasteful like those hypocritical boasters. He continued. I wavered. "But I was afraid you would think I married you only for trivial wealth, so I painfully refused." I laughed, laughing until my whole body shook. "You are partially right. I was also afraid that if I accepted this trivial thing, people would look down on me, saying that a dignified heir of a prince's estate married a lowly merchant woman as a wife. It would inevitably cause gossip." At this moment, Victor opened his eyes wide, looking at me, as if surprised by my words. After a long while, he dared to open his mouth. "Thank you. If Master Chen mentions this again, I will agree. A's promise to uncle? I won't mention it again. They have calculated everything, pouring it all onto me." I thought Victor came from a noble background, but in reality, he hadn't experienced many cunning schemes. The people around him mostly praised him. No one dared to reveal their evil nature in front of him. Man is born with an evil nature. Without power in hand, how could he fight against those merchants who calculated every bit for money? Compared to worries about arranged marriages and old matchmaker words, we loved each other and understood each other's nature. So those small schemes were nothing significant. I walked to his side, bent down to hug his neck, and whispered in his ear, "Victor, my love, you won't abandon me halfway, right? Whether I am a pitiful person running away from the Chen family or a person harboring malicious schemes, you won't leave me. I will treat you with all my heart. I will absolutely never betray you. If you are two-faced, I will endure. But if I can't endure, I will fight back." Hearing that, Victor's face turned red, his voice hoarse. "I, Victor, swear that in this life I only have Diana Chen. I will absolutely not take anyone else." I laughed boldly, blinded by love, and kissed him lightly on the ear, then sat on his lap, hugged his neck, and kissed his lips. At first, he stiffened, then slowly experimented. We hugged each other, hearts pounding. He went far away, turning back many times with a reluctant look, as if having tasted sweetness, expecting the next meeting even more. I watched his figure leave until I could no longer see him, then buried my face in my hands, feeling a bit ashamed. It was as if sweetness poured in from all sides, filling my lonely, empty heart. After that, I moved to live in a spacious courtyard with dedicated maids and nannies serving everything. Food and clothing were not lacking. My stepmother personally came with Aunt Margaret, engaging in an argument. She said, "She is our daughter. Why must she live here with you?" Aunt Margaret's face was calm, not a ripple. She let me say to myself that I wanted to live with her. "I am afraid if I go home, I will be killed, beaten to death." My stepmother was mad with anger and left. Then father came. He mumbled something I didn't bother to care about. I questioned him. "Why did my mother die? Can you investigate? Can her remains be found? I could have someone beat you half to death." "Don't think I won't, Master Chen. I am a person who remembers for a very long time." Then I said, "Let it be like this. You consider me dead, and I will consider you dead. From now on, I only acknowledge Uncle and Aunt Margaret as relatives. I believe the Heir will support all my decisions, including despising parasites like you." Father's face hardened. After a while, he spoke. "I am your father. Are you worthy? You don't deserve to be a father or a husband. You never fulfilled your responsibilities. Why did my mother die? I understand you could turn a blind eye, but why did you never intend to protect me? You are my father. I am your daughter. In those years when I had no one to rely on, you should have protected, loved, and cared for me. Therefore I hate you. Hate you to the bone." He sighed and said, "Child, it is father who wronged you." I turned my face away, my tone cold. "Go away, don't come here again." Since then, everything began when I met Victor's elders. They were skillful and capable people. The matriarch of the family knew how to speak and handle things perfectly. Whether sincere or not, when they praised others, they never repeated their words. There were many things I couldn't participate in. Everything was decided by Aunt Margaret, and I only knew the result, because my wedding with Victor would take place on the 6th of September, and it was now July. We had to depart for the capital at the end of May. Uncle insisted on organizing a wedding banquet at the Chen house. Time was getting tighter. Luckily, the Chen family was wealthy. In this world, most things can be bought with money. Things can also be done with money. Aunt Margaret gave me a list of the dowry, telling me to look carefully so I would know. 2 million silver taels have been converted into gold and packed in chests, but not recorded in the dowry list. The gifts collected from this banquet, your uncle has announced, will be given entirely to you. Aunt Margaret, I exclaimed in surprise. This is using my marriage to Victor to gather money for the crown prince. Now it was too late to refuse. Victor and I had been pushed onto the fire. They even found a very clever reason and excuse, saying they wanted to add to the dowry for me, their niece. I met Victor privately to talk about this, but he seemed to have seen through it long ago. From the day I decided to marry you, I predicted there would be a day like today. However much they give, just accept it. Everything will be yours later. He continued. I intended to open my mouth but stopped. That's right. As long as that money is in my hands, no one can take it away. Whatever is said, it is a matter between the Chen family and me, unrelated to me becoming a daughter-in-law of the prince's estate. If someone wants to investigate later. Suddenly, I thought, perhaps this was the trap that Victor and the crown prince had set, so that those behind would think my dowry was actually the crown prince's money. When the time comes, if a petition is presented to denounce it, would the emperor take this opportunity to settle that wealth? I breathed a sigh of relief. Then I will accept it all. Accept it. Just the items in the vault were enough to amaze me. The ladies and young misses each gifted several sets of dazzling jewelry. Bracelets and jade strings studded with large gemstones without a single flaw. Before, I tried my best to imagine but couldn't conceive how beautiful they were. Now they filled several rooms. Fanny swallowed her saliva. Miss, you are rich. Not just rich, but incredibly wealthy. Not to mention the betrothal gifts Aunt Margaret prepared for me. The aunts and uncles in the family all had heaven-sent wisdom. My father, wanting to make amends, brought dozens of chests of treasures. I accepted them, considering it forgiveness. On the 19th of April, I departed from the Chen family in glory. Victor came to pick up the bride, but we hadn't bowed to heaven and earth or consummated the marriage, because he was extremely busy. Just my dowry filled several boats traveling ahead by water, followed by a convoy of carriages to ensure safety. We hired many escort agencies just to bring the dowry to the capital. If I had the patience to wait for him, I could meet him every night. I realized that every time I waited for him to exchange a few words, secretly holding his hand when no one was looking and kissing him, his heart beat incredibly fast. His joy was hidden in his hurried steps when arriving and his many backward glances when leaving. The departure day drew nearer. He had packed all my dowry. On the day of departure, Aunt Margaret held my hand tightly, instructing, "You and the Heir must live well. The Chen family knows you won't return." Father stood next to Uncle, seeming to want to say something, but I just bowed and said, "Father, please take care." Most people cried in farewell, but I was cold and indifferent, not even frowning. I was even secretly happy, especially Victor. He held my hand tightly, leading me onto the boat, face red, ignoring the greetings of the elders, smiling softly as he led me into the room. His palms were sweaty. I remained calm. When the boat started, only the two of us were in the cabin. He looked at me. I looked at him. Then he hugged me, whispering, "I definitely won't let you down. Don't be afraid of me." I smiled and replied, "Why should I be afraid? I am rejoicing." The days on the boat were truly peaceful and comfortable. The elders didn't force me to pay respects or perform rituals, nor did I need to serve them. Victor and I painted, wrote, or leaned against each other reading books together. We both understood clearly that these peaceful days would be very few once we entered the capital. He had his affairs to worry about. I also had things to learn. Being together, leaning on each other in the quiet night, speaking words of love, that was happiness. The elders didn't come to disturb, but I couldn't be ignorant of etiquette. Asking for peace couldn't be skipped. Concern couldn't be lacking. I needed to understand their temperaments, silently calculating how to treat them later. If I created affection, when arriving in the capital, they would instruct me a thing or two. This was still better than fumbling on my own. Also because Victor valued and loved me too much, they didn't make things difficult or harsh. Every time we met, they smiled gently at me. Compared to me occasionally taking the initiative to hold hands and kiss him, Victor maintained his composure, Many times I almost made him lose control, but he still kept his face flushed, having to go out to drink several gourds of cold water, then coming back to look at me with playful blame. Many mornings he avoided meeting anyone. Sophie frowned at me, wanting to say something but stopping. I understood why. It was just that things unfinished during the day, he did in his dreams. I didn't think my taking the initiative was wrong. Now we had consummated the marriage. That made Victor become elegant, his manner as refreshing as the moon and wind, gentle as jade, keeping the dinner of a gentleman. But if I didn't take the initiative, waiting for him to take the initiative, when would that be? With our status as different as sky and earth, if I didn't hold his heart, if he didn't protect me, how could I survive the coming days? Even if I were smart and deep in thought, living in a powerful family without the protection of a husband, life would be miserable beyond imagination. In 2 days, we will ride in the carriage. Will you sit in the same carriage with me then? I gently leaned into Victor's embrace, twisting my body slightly, tilting my head to ask him. His long arms tightened around my waist, breathing heavily, forbidding me to move. His face clearly showed the determination of a man. In his eyes, he couldn't hide his desire, his ears turning red. He couldn't help but pull me into his arms, kissing me endlessly, while angrily saying, "You just keep seducing me like this. Do I dare be alone with you?" I looked at him with glittering eyes. Victor took a few deep breaths, his voice hoarse. "I hate that I cannot bow to heaven and earth and get married today." "And then what?" I asked intentionally with a mischievous tone. His hands were not behaving either. He looked pained and replied, "Then another day, I will repay you 100-fold. I laughed until my shoulders shook, gently whispering in his ear, "Then husband, please remember to keep your word." Immediately, Victor's eyes turned red. He gritted his teeth. "Diana, just you wait," waiting until we rode the carriage. Because the carriage was cramped, my dowry was too much, and the people following were numerous, Victor had to ride a horse alongside the carriage. When the carriage stopped to rest, I dared not tease him because the space was too small, and bathing or changing clothes was inconvenient. Yet, he liked to tease me. But when I actually intended to touch him, he ran faster than anyone. Who was the timid one, after all? Stepping out of the carriage, Victor was again the young master with the demeanor of the moon and wind, warm as the sun, acting generously, gently, and properly towards the elders. He was extremely filial. Everything was arranged thoughtfully. Towards me, there was nothing to criticize. When fresh fruits were brought, he stepped into the carriage, lazily lying down in my lap, saying nothing, only signaling for me to feed him. His utterly reluctant appearance was completely different from his appearance in front of outsiders. I was happy with how he treated me like this, thinking that if for a whole long life he kept a solemn face forever, how could I live? Of course, I also unintentionally or intentionally evoked his desire. Don't think only men understand these things. Women are no less competitive. As long as there is heart, when a woman seduces, she is not inferior to a man. Many women feel shy and ashamed, but compared to happiness, that is nothing. What is shame worth? He is my husband, the father of my children. Towards him, I must give my all. Should I show a face cold as water, silent as a dead pond all day? Ask if he likes a gentle, smart, understanding wife, or someone who always wears a mournful, cold face as if she just lost her parents? Good heavens! Inside the carriage, it was even more suffocating. Victor thought of a way to bring ice back for everyone. The elders were all given a share, but my share wasn't much. Riding his horse by the carriage window, he spoke gently. "Your body is weak. A little coolness is enough. Don't be too greedy for the cold." I understood everything he said, so I smiled and asked back, "What about you?" "Of course it's hot, but I can still endure it." He leaned slightly into the carriage window, whispering in a low voice, "Not as hot as when I am alone with you." I hurriedly covered his mouth with my hand, stopping him from saying flirtatious words. He bit lightly on my palm. When I glared at him, he just winked and laughed smugly. "I'll go ahead to check the situation," he said, then galloped away quickly. "Humph. Wait until we are married and see how I deal with you." These affectionate gestures caught the eyes of Fanny and the others. Everyone secretly laughed behind my back, but mostly they were happy for me. On the 13th of August, we arrived in the capital. Only 2 days left until the Mid-Autumn Festival. He came to meet me, respectfully saying, "Aunt, the bride is in the carriage. You have worked hard. Thank you for helping. Victor will engrave this kindness in his heart forever." Princess Clara laughed and replied, "You are truly polite. Even your mother isn't as courteous as you. Hurry up, say a few words to the bride, then I will take her away." Victor pulled up the carriage curtain and said to me, "In a moment, please follow Aunt Clara. In 2 days, I will send someone to bring mooncakes." I gently held his hand, my heart overflowing with warmth. Suddenly, a feeling of reluctance rose in my heart, accompanied by a little worry. I remembered the words he had said to me. He instructed me not to listen to anyone. Princess Clara was a close friend of Victor's mother. His father said the princess was gentle and approachable, telling me not to be too cautious, just behave comfortably. But this was a princess educated by a noble family in the capital. How could she be ordinary? Victor was the nephew of her close friend, so being loved by the princess was reasonable. Currently, the princess and I had no relationship. The closeness was different. I dared not be arrogant. Therefore, after getting off the carriage, I respectfully bowed. "Niece greets aunt." The princess smiled kindly. "Get out of the sun quickly. Let's go inside." The servants in the manor were very disciplined. Everyone lowered their heads, daring not to glance around, their steps straight in uniform. Aunt Clara told me to rest for 2 days, saying that after that, there would be much work to keep me busy. I knew that learning the rules and etiquette was inevitable. I didn't mind the hard work, I only feared being deliberately made things difficult. On the Mid-Autumn Festival, Victor sent people to bring mooncakes. Fanny held the box, smiling. "This is a gift Lord Victor brought personally. Since you are not married yet, you cannot meet." But the Lord stood outside the door asking if the young lady was safe. "He is very worried about you." I ate the cake, thinking that this mooncake was truly delicious. The imperial matron who came to teach etiquette was from the palace. Her appearance was very stern, her back straight as a ramrod. She bowed and spoke. "This servant respectfully greets Miss Chen. By the decree of Her Majesty the Empress, this servant has come to teach the young lady the rules." I wasn't clear if she was truly the Empress's person, or if she was sent by other imperial concubines or the Empress herself. I ordered Fanny to bring gifts, but the imperial matron signaled a young palace maid to accept them without even glancing at them once. She showed a clear professional attitude. When teaching etiquette, she was extremely strict. If I did something slightly wrong, she immediately used a ruler to hit me. Although it left no marks, it was incredibly painful. Fanny intended to speak up and argue, but the matron said, "This old servant teaches rules to young ladies of every household like this. If Miss Chen cannot learn, this old servant will return to the palace to report immediately." Fanny was so angry her eyes turned red, but she knew clearly that the woman was certain I dared not make a big scene, so she had to endure the disadvantage. My arm burned from the beating. I couldn't help but ask myself if marrying into a noble family was truly good. Did I really have to endure like this? If I resisted, what would happen? At worst, the engagement would be annulled. But annulling the marriage was not an easy matter. If so, what did I have to fear that made me bow my head? Even if she came from the palace, she was just a servant. And I, though of lowly origin, was still a master. Risking it once could drag even the emperor off his horse. Countless eyes were watching my every move, every word. Many were waiting to see me fail. If I endured these beatings, would they force me to kneel forever? Thinking it through, I smiled and told Fanny, "Go to the main gate and shout loudly that I am stupid, that I cannot learn the rules taught by the matron, so being beaten is deserved. Shout that the matron doesn't want to teach anymore and wants to return to the palace. We will respectfully send her off with drums and trumpets, so everyone can see whether I cannot learn or if she is deliberately making things difficult." Just as Fanny was about to go, the matron hurriedly called her back. Fanny turned to look at me, and I looked straight at the matron and said, "Matron, you came to teach me rules, not to humiliate me. Victor and I have gone through all 3 rites and 6 ceremonies." There was parental approval and the matchmaker's words. "He will personally come to welcome me." I was carried out of the Chen family in an 8-bearer sedan chair. All of Jiangnan knows that the daughter of the Chen family will marry into Prince Lin's estate. I am certain to become the princess consort of the Heir. I continued, my voice steady. "I don't need to know whose orders you are following, but think carefully. You are not only humiliating me, but also humiliating the Heir, slapping the face of Prince Lin's estate, and even causing the Empress and the Crown Prince to lose face." The matron's face immediately turned pale. Her knees went soft, and she knelt down, hastily explaining. "Miss Chen has misunderstood. It is just that this servant was too impatient, only hoping to teach the rules soon to report back to the palace, hence causing mistakes. I hope the young lady will be generous and overlook it." I replied calmly. "Is that so, matron?" Noble daughters learning rules is not a matter of one morning or one afternoon. They learn from childhood. Although I come from a merchant family, I am not a person from the wild mountains. I understand rules and etiquette. It is just that the customs of the South and North are different, so I am temporarily unaccustomed. You didn't teach meticulously but only beat me immediately. Later, when I enter the palace, I will kneel and ask Her Majesty the Empress if every matron in the palace teaches like this, or only you. She panicked and replied, "It is this servant who is foolish. I hope the young lady will be generous and forgive this servant this one time." She admitted her fault so quickly that it was hard for me to find further fault. "Fanny, help the matron up." After Fanny helped her stand, I said, "The words spoken just now between us will not leak out, right?" She hurriedly nodded. "Of course, miss. Let us consider that nothing happened. We will continue teaching the rules." From then on, the matron became more patient. When I ordered her to demonstrate personally, she did. I wasn't stupid and studied hard, so I quickly understood. The matron even praised me a few times. Being harmonious like this, wasn't it better? She withdrew all her chaotic thoughts, and I responded by gifting her delicacies, gold, silver, and jewelry. September has arrived. On the surface, I remained calm, but inside, I began to feel turmoil. I used to ask myself, if all this was just a lie, where would I go? None of the people beside me were chosen by my own hand. Fanny and the others might treat me sincerely, but did they have enough strength to overcome the temptation of fame and profit? "Miss, did you have a nightmare again?" I hummed softly in agreement. "Tomorrow is already the 5th. Miss, please rest assured, everything is handled by Princess Clara. Nanny Chen is also personally supervising. There will be no mistakes." I wanted to tell myself not to worry, not to overthink. The things I received didn't originally come from love. If Victor was truly full of schemes, then that was my fate. The ending might be a severed body, but if he had a little sincerity, perhaps things would be different. "Miss, it is still early. Please sleep a little longer." On the 6th of September, before the sky was even light, I was woken up. I bathed and put on layer after layer of wedding clothes. The bride's skin was white as jade. My appearance was naturally beautiful, needing no heavy makeup. Just a touch of red lipstick was enough. Princess Clara spoke while personally checking the veil covering my face. My eyes secretly followed her, seeing her smile at me gently. I heard that Victor had ridden a horse to the gate of the manor, acting as a poet urging the bride. The sound of laughter echoed inside. The atmosphere was incredibly lively. Princess Clara smiled gently. "Those are the mischievous children in my house. Later when you meet them, just call them big brother and little brother." "What should I call you?" "I thank you." My heart felt an added layer of gratitude. The princess continued, "We are women. When we marry, we only hope for harmony between husband and wife, and a warm family. Victor spent so much effort to marry you, going through no small amount of difficulties. Later, you and he must understand each other, hold hands to overcome all storms, and live well." I nodded vigorously, unable to hold back my tears. My mother's family had no brothers to see me off. Normally, the matchmaker should have carried me out. But unexpectedly, Victor himself held my hand tightly. "Today, I personally lead you through this door. In the future, we will walk together, sharing sweetness and bitterness, never leaving, never abandoning." I was dazed for a moment, then replied with a soft yes. The flowered sedan chair stopped amidst the sound of trumpets, drums, and firecrackers. Outside, auspicious blessings rang out. Then the sedan chair was gently kicked a few times. The matchmaker helped me step down. A red silk strip was placed in my hand. Victor stepped closer, speaking gently. "I will personally lead you into the door of the Lin family. In the future, I will definitely love and protect you." Someone laughed and said, "The groom is truly too impatient. He is already whispering to the bride." "What are you saying? Let us hear it too." Victor laughed and replied, "I invite everyone to drink a few more cups at the wedding feast in a moment. Perhaps the groom is anxious to bow to heaven and earth and get married." Laughter rang out vibrantly. I was led over the brazier and the threshold. My feet stepped on the red cloth, step by step entering a new life. The Lin family organized the ceremony. First bow to heaven and earth, second bow to high parents. Husband and wife bow to each other. The ceremony was complete. The bride was taken into the room. There was a distance from the main hall to the bridal chamber. Victor walked very slowly, always reminding me every time we stepped over a threshold or a step. The people following to watch the excitement laughed and joked happily. Sitting on the bridal bed, Victor hadn't had time to say anything when he was dragged away to offer wine. People said they would come to tease the bridal chamber later. The phoenix crown was very heavy, making my neck ache, but I felt sweet inside. I didn't know how long I sat there until I heard noisy sounds and chaotic footsteps entering the room. Everyone urged Victor to lift the veil. The veil was lifted. I gently looked up. The whole room immediately fell silent, followed by words of praise. The heir is truly fortunate. The bride is so beautiful. The teasing of the bridal chamber also happened very properly. Laughter rang out. People joked that Victor had to compose a few small poems to fit the mood. They teased me again, asking if the dumpling was raw or cooked. I softly replied, raw. After drinking the cupped wine, the teasers were invited out to continue the wedding feast. At this moment, only Victor and I remained in the room. He laughed out loud, making me blush. Today Madame has worked hard, he said. Calling me Madame was something I really liked. I asked him to help me remove the phoenix crown, then rubbed my neck. Fanny led people to bring food into the room. Victor said, "You have been hungry all day. Hurry and eat something." I replied, "You are hungry too. Let's eat together." However, eating too much at night causes discomfort. Moreover, we still had to consummate the marriage, so we only ate just enough to be full, then stopped. After the maids cleaned up, I went to bathe and change clothes. I thought I would have to wait for Victor. Unexpectedly, he had finished bathing beforehand and was waiting for me. "Madam, let us rest," he said. "Long time no see." I originally had many things to tell him. But Victor smiled softly. "Madam, do not disappoint the beautiful scenery of tonight. Whatever there is, let us say it later." I fell asleep in a daze. In my heart I thought, from now on I wouldn't dare tease Victor anymore. I truly couldn't handle it. The next morning I was woken up by Fanny. "Bride, it is time to offer tea." I opened my eyes shyly and asked, "Where is the heir?" Fanny replied, "He is washing his face in the quiet room." I hurriedly told Fanny to help me sit up. My whole body ached, but I tried to endure, telling myself that after offering tea, I could rest a bit more. Victor was very thoughtful. Along the way, he supported me, saying, "Don't worry. Everyone in the family is easygoing." Indeed, the Lin family was very large, but everyone was friendly. Grandmother Lin was especially kind. She pulled me close, praising the painting I drew as very beautiful, and told me that when I had free time in the future, I should often come to sit and play with her. My parents-in-law smiled, telling him and me to live happily and have children soon. The meeting gifts from the elders were extremely rich. The brothers and sisters in the house were very harmonious, except for Victor's eldest sister-in-law. Victor's sister-in-law Martha Min gave a cold snort, her tongue of annoyance. As for the younger generation, needless to say, everyone was respectful and very disciplined. After offering tea and recognizing relatives, my mother-in-law told us to return to our small courtyard to rest. In the house, 3 meals were served in each person's private courtyard. Except for the 1st and 15th day of the month, when we had to pay respects to grandmother, the rest was up to each person. Everyone had their own busy work. There was no need to greet the mother-in-law daily. She even sent nanny Chen to serve me. Grandmother also sent someone to say she wanted us, husband and wife, to nurture our feelings, so no need to come for greetings, letting Victor read books with peace of mind. For the first few days, there wasn't much to do. Victor and I were inseparable. He read books, I sat beside him reading too. He practiced calligraphy, and I ground the ink. When he painted, I also added a few strokes. On the night of the 30th of September, he sat opposite me, confiding that next year he would participate in the imperial examination. If he passed, he would have to participate in the palace examination. Hearing that, my eyes lit up with admiration. "My husband will become a scholar." Victor laughed and said, "How many scholars are there in the world? What does that have to do with me? Even if they are the top scholar, it is unrelated to me." But I replied, "I know my husband will pass the exam. Next year you will definitely succeed. You just read with peace of mind. I trust I can take good care of myself and know how to be filial to the elders." During the honeymoon period, not coming to pay respects was fine. The elders were happy to see us loving each other, hoping for children soon. After all, for Victor to marry a wife like me was the luck of his 3 lifetimes. Victor said so. I could laugh and joke with him, but also sit beside him reading to help him focus, yet still felt satisfied and motivated. Before, he was quite lazy in his studies, thinking that learning a little was enough. Whether to take the exam or not wasn't important, because the prince's estate protected him. He didn't have to worry about life. But since the incident with his big brother happened, the pillar of the family collapsed. He became the heir, shouldering heavy responsibilities. The burden on his shoulders made him feel suffocated, leading to a serious illness that he almost didn't survive. The imperial doctor had ordered preparations for his funeral, but he survived. Then from there he left home to travel. You are the most special young lady I have ever met, always living positively, resiliently walking on the path you think is right. I really wanted to tell him that I wasn't as good as he thought. My heart was full of calculations and wild ambitions. If he hadn't pulled me up, who knows what path I would have fallen onto by now. Perhaps I would have become someone else's concubine. If I didn't compete, fine. But once I decided to fight, when I struck to harm people, I absolutely showed no mercy. But I couldn't say these words. I could only advise him to take care of his health first. To love others, one must love oneself. Burdens on the shoulders should be shared with full-blooded brothers. I absolutely did not advise him to share with half-brothers because even full siblings can be two-faced, let alone those from different mothers. He had to strive to study and pass the exams. My mother-in-law also taught me to remember the complicated relationships in the clan. I frequently went to pay respects to grandmother and chat with her. Grandmother was old but liked having the younger generation as companions. I met Martha Min at grandmother's place a few times. She always gave me dirty looks, many times staring at my stomach and laughing with calculation. I wasn't clear what she was plotting, but from then on, I started to be on guard, especially when I repeatedly caught her maid crying behind the rockery. I hesitated, then took this matter to speak with my mother-in-law. Originally, I didn't want to bother mother, but encountering it twice like that, I couldn't help but be suspicious. After listening, my mother-in-law just looked at me quietly, then asked about his studies. She advised me to focus on worrying for him, saying that if the husband is rich, the wife is noble. I always engraved those teachings in my heart. Twice meeting the maid crying, I ignored it. But the third time she cried and begged me for help. If you have any grievance, go speak to the princess consort. Crying here is useless. I cannot help. I went back and recounted this to Victor. He looked at me for a while then laughed heartily. My wife is truly admirable. It's like using chaotic punches to defeat an old master. I guessed early on that the maid was a trap. If I helped her just a few times and was seen by others, Martha Min would certainly use me as an excuse to pour all misfortunes onto my head. I had witnessed and experienced schemes in the backyard when I was at the Chen family. In noble families, things were even more complicated. My background wasn't equal to theirs, so I had to be even more careful. If they used schemes against me, I would use righteous paths to counter them. They set a trap, I wouldn't step in, but would expose it in front of the princess consort. Once or twice I could overlook it, but 3 or 5 times. Mother favors her daughter-in-law too much. Is the princess consort not afraid of making Victor's heart cold? I also met Martha Min at grandmother's courtyard a few times. She looked at me with eyes full of resentment, not hiding it at all. Even grandmother noticed and hinted at a reminder, but she still kept her old habits. Grandmother reminded her word by word, but she remained stubborn, refusing to change. Until the 13th of the 12th lunar month, the doctor announced the happy news that I had been pregnant for nearly 2 months. My heart overflowed with joy. Even the Empress sent people to grant rewards. However, rumors gradually spread in the manner that I wasn't just pregnant for 2 months. There were even those who dared to say the child in my belly was not Victor's. Hearing these words, Victor was furious. He personally investigated and beat a maid to death. The whole manor was heavily punished. For the first time, he stood in front of me to protect me. The princess consort blamed him for overreacting. If I cannot even punish a maid with a weaving mouth, what do I need the position of heir of a prince's estate for? While the princess consort was cold, Victor spoke up. Mother, do not be so biased. You know clearly who is right and who is wrong. She is your daughter-in-law. Diana Chen is also a member of the royal family. She is the future mistress of the prince's estate. Mother holds great power in her hands. How could you not know rumors were starting? If you knew and didn't punish, is it indulgence or covering up? Or do you want to use this matter to force Diana? Hearing this, the princess consort was so angry she shouted, "Unfilial son," and slapped Victor. But he just smiled. I know I am not the son mother expected. I cannot compare with Big Brother's literary and martial talents and brilliance. That makes me very sad. But this position of heir is what you all forced onto my shoulders. It is not something I begged for. Mother still has 2 other sons. You can hand the heir position to them at any time. As for me, Victor has never coveted anything. The princess consort heard this and fell ill from anger. I asked Victor, You are not such a stubborn person. Why did you say such words? He looked at me for a moment, then gently placed his hand on my belly and said, if I don't rebel, if I don't firmly hold my ground, when this child is born, if it is a girl, it is fine. But if it is a boy, he will be taken from us to become Martha Min's son. I trembled, my whole body turning cold. Tears welled up. I clutched his robe tightly, choking with emotion. I don't want that. I cannot endure that. A son fighting openly, a daughter-in-law calculating silently, sharing the same womb but having to fight to the point of boiling water and burning fire. Let alone people separated by layers of belly. How could it not reach a life and death situation? Did you suffer many grievances when you were small? Seeing my heartbreak looking at him, Victor laughed and shook his head. Not at all. My big brother was accomplished in both literature and martial arts, shining brightly. My other brothers, though capable, weren't like me. I was much lazier. Although I didn't fall into walking dogs and fighting birds, or visiting brothels and gambling excessively like the young masters of noble families, I never missed any party or poetry gathering. I raised my eyebrows slightly and asked, those parties are not easy to attend, if you don't have some talent. Did you attend parties during the day and read books by lamp at night? He smiled. You truly understand me. At the parties of noble young masters, either you must be outstanding in literature, or at least know a few big words. Victor was certainly cherished because he was gentle and didn't compete, but that didn't mean he had no self-respect. Those who didn't make an effort, how could they be friends with him? Who among them didn't have some talent? They were dissolute only because their family background was too solid. As long as they didn't cause big trouble, as long as they were good representatives, it was fine. But even with literary talent, one couldn't be too brilliant, because if so, it would overshadow the elder brothers. A moment later, Victor said again, don't worry, I have arranged everything. Our child will definitely grow up beside you. No one can take him away. The next day, we went to pay respects to grandmother Lin. She advised me on many things, teaching me how to live in a great clan and how to build prestige. She said that because I lacked ambition, she had to worry about me. However, she said it wasn't my fault, but rather the fault of this family. On the outside, it looks brilliant and dazzling, but on the inside, it is rotten and decaying. Just like the saying, gold and jade on the outside, rot and decay on the inside. Grandmother held my hand and said, Victor was a mischievous and useless child when he was young, refusing to study. When he grew up a little, he started reading books and practicing martial arts, but he gradually drifted away from the family. He never shared his joys, sorrows, or anger with anyone in the house. When he became an adult, he didn't even ask the family for money anymore. He would go traveling for a year or half a year without returning. When his big brother met with misfortune, he returned. At that time, everyone in the house was crying, but he just stood silently, his eyes red, looking blankly at the memorial tablet. Everyone fought for the position of Heir, but only he calmly did his own things. When the position of Heir fell into his hands, he showed no joy, nor did he think about shouldering the heavy responsibilities. She continued. When it came to marriage, he criticized this one, refused that one, then left home for a whole year. We all thought he would live like that for the rest of his life. Until last year, he returned and said there was a girl he loved. When we learned she was a young lady born of a concubine, his mother used death to force him. But he stabbed himself twice in front of us. Only then did we realize that it wasn't that he didn't fight, but simply that he hadn't met what he wanted. Once he found what he wanted, he would definitely risk his life to achieve it. He promised his parents that as long as his wish was fulfilled, he would try his best to shoulder the responsibilities. Grandmother looked at me kindly. This child looks heartless on the surface, but in reality, he is not. He appears indifferent, but actually, he is soft-hearted and more responsible than anyone. He would never compete with his big brother. As for you, you are truly foolish. Up to now, you still don't know what you must do. All day you only think about competing with your eldest sister-in-law. Do not fight with her. Even if you win, the world will not speak well of you. It is best to let her do as she pleases. Wait until the pity runs out, and her life will only amount to that much. I couldn't help but ask. Did no one advise her? How could they not? Good and bad words were all spoken, but she wouldn't listen. What else could be done? I understood why grandmother told me these things. They didn't truly accept me either. In the end, they still looked down on me. They were all from prestigious families but were forced by Victor to let him marry me. On the surface, they endured, But inside they couldn't swallow this anger. Now they wanted me to suffer grievances and yield. They wanted me to understand that Victor had sacrificed too much for me, making me feel ashamed so I would endure. But why must I be like that? Life only happens once. Why should I yield? As for Martha Min, this widow, if she has reason, I will naturally respect her. But if she is unreasonable and wants me to suffer and endure, I do not want to do so. Grandmother, rest assured, I understand clearly what to do. Next time, if Martha comes to cause trouble, I will definitely not endure but confront her. However, before that, I need to meet her to talk. If she understands, from now on we will live together in harmony. But if she still intentionally harms me, don't blame me for taking action to cut off this danger. Before meeting Martha Min, Victor and I discussed the relationships in the manner. We needed to find out what she truly desired. Having an extra enemy is not as good as turning her into an ally on the same boat, Victor said. She needs money and status. She also has no children. I immediately replied. Then let her adopt a child. It doesn't matter which branch of the Lin clan or the Min clan it comes from. The best is a child from the Min clan who shares a bloodline with her. Like that. For the sake of the child, she will easily compromise. As for money, just use the wealth in the manor to keep her. Why does your mother refuse to hand over the management of assets? It could be due to excessive losses with no way to report. Or perhaps the assets in hand are too large for her to let go. You are the eldest son, so you need to know clearly what the situation in the manor is. Victor nodded and replied that he would go talk to his parents. Martha Min didn't expect that I would invite her to enjoy tea and admire plum blossoms. When she arrived, she clearly showed dissatisfaction, the corner of her mouth holding a sarcastic smile. Sister-in-law, please sit, I said. Why do you have to be fake? Looking at you truly makes me uncomfortable, she retorted. I didn't bother to care about that sarcasm, only gently replying. I have heard sarcasm many times. There are words even more bitter than that. Today I invited you here simply because I want to talk properly to see if we can live in harmony in the future. She looked me up and down, evaluating every detail. Are you also worthy of talking honestly? She looked at me with disdain. I am the eldest sister-in-law, yet you want to discuss high and low with me. Your virtue is only that much. I looked back at her and said, look at how you are dressed today. The fabric isn't new. The jewelry is old. I don't know if mother added money for you to shop, or if you used that money for other things. Whatever the reason, clearly you are not living very well. Before she could get angry, I continued. As for me, I do not lack silver. She fell silent and listened. I continued speaking. The prince's estate has so many people. Eating and drinking every year costs no small amount of silver. I don't know if the recent funds are enough to cover it, or if there is a deficit again. Is it that every year there is not enough to spend? She sighed and replied. The prince's estate has no surplus. Several hundred people were eating, drinking, and enjoying themselves. We still have to leave a part for gifts to Her Majesty the Empress and His Highness the Crown Prince. Although I don't manage internal affairs, through the attitude of the maids and old women around the princess consort, I can recognize the shortage. Every year, perhaps the princess consort has to take out her dowry to compensate, or borrow to pay debts. If the prince still maintains a private army, how much can you understand? She spoke in annoyance. I am just a merchant's daughter. I don't understand the rules of a great family, but I understand how to earn money. Compared to their arrogance, I live very practically. Good parents are not as good as having a lot of money. Relying on mountains or rivers is not as good as relying on oneself. I continued. Just like with Victor. Do I love him? I think I do. I love the person he is, but I love the care he gives me even more. Once he doesn't love me anymore, I will not hesitate to abandon him. I always wanted to do a little business. I just haven't found a suitable ally. Thinking back, perhaps you also lack silver. If you want to raise a child by your side, besides my child, as long as the child's parents agree and the child is willing, Victor and I can help you arrange it. Even a child from the Min family is fine. I paused for a moment then continued. Later, when dividing the family assets, apart from the gold, silver, and jewelry passed down by ancestors that cannot be touched, the share belonging to the heir, you can choose freely. Just use it naturally. As soon as I finished speaking, Martha Min heard this and was so surprised she couldn't sit still anymore. She stood up abruptly, pointing at me. You can make the decision on this matter. I calmly replied. I have discussed this with the heir. The person the heir respects most is Big Brother. When Big Brother met with misfortune, his heart ached like it was being cut by a knife. He only hopes to do something to repay big brother's kindness, for example, taking good care of you. But he is a man after all. It is hard to be too close to a widow like you. I say these things sincerely, hoping to form an alliance with you. So, success or not, I hope you give me a definite word. Martha Min bit her lip, her eyes red, and said, adopting a child from the Min family is not that easy. The prince's estate has long been just an empty shell. Even if assets are divided, it will be years later. By then, how much will be shared? I replied. Then let us start business to fill the deficit, then continue to accumulate silver. Relying on the prince's estate to do business, nothing is easy. Martha Min was silent for a long time, then said let her think more. I thought to myself, truly hard to understand. People like her, when bullying me, she doesn't need to think. When wanting to harm me, she doesn't worry about the consequences. Now coming to making money, she has to consider. Truly, thin mud cannot plaster a wall. Unexpectedly, 2 days later, Martha Min came again to ask if she needed to put silver into the business. I replied no need, because in the first 2 years you wouldn't receive a single coin anyway. She nodded. I continued. The princess consort can still keep the right to manage. The prince's estate dares not reveal anything, enough to see the deficit is huge. At that time, Fanny asked in a small voice, does the princess consort intend to take out her dowry? I smiled and replied. Of course not. I am not stupid. I can help earn money, but using my dowry to cover the deficit. I am not that talented. I won't do it. The princess consort's illness recovered after just a few days. She called me and Victor. When we arrived, the prince was already there, along with Victor's other brothers, both legitimate and illegitimate. Their wives stood beside them. Everyone was silent and tense. The prince ordered people to bring up the account books from the past 20 years, he said. The ancients often said, if there is a mistake, fix it. If there is an illness, cure it. Although the prince's estate looks brilliant on the outside, inside it has been empty for a long time. Now your mother is old and cannot do many things anymore. She and I have discussed and decided to hand over the management of family assets. You all see who can take over. Everyone was silent. No one said a word. The huge deficit of the prince's estate had been carefully hidden. Outsiders didn't know, but those living in the estate more or less felt it. Why do you say nothing? Usually, don't you fight over managing assets? The prince shouted angrily. Clearly he was very mad. This is a mess. Whoever took it would be considered unlucky. The prince looked at me and asked, so what is the intention of the princess consort? I turned to look at Victor. He smiled encouragingly and nodded slightly. I understood clearly. If I refused to accept, the whole prince's estate would look down on me, disregard me, seeing me as just a merchant woman not worthy to step onto the noble stage. Indeed, this hot potato would fall into my hands anyway, so why not accept it straightforwardly and openly? But first, I need to know clearly how much the total deficit is, who we owe, what the interest rate is, and when it must be paid off. These books need to be seen by the brothers in the house, and the sisters-in-law must also read them once. This is to avoid anyone rumored later that I embezzled family assets. Secondly, I am currently pregnant. I need to ask my mother-in-law to continue working hard for another year or two, so I can first check everything in the manor, including the farms and shops outside. Those doing profitable business will be kept. Those not making a profit will be closed and replaced with other businesses. Thirdly, once I have accepted the management, everyone must follow my orders and act. Otherwise, when the time comes, people will stand up to oppose and question every decision I make. Victor held my hand tightly, as if wanting to give me his support and strength. This was also the first time I saw admiration in the prince's eyes. The princess consort looked at me, her eyes hiding admiration. Finally, she just sighed softly and said, all the books are clearly recorded here. Every year you all can review them. Today I gave you a choice, but everyone avoided it faster than anyone. She continued. From now on, the princess consort of the Heir has accepted this responsibility. Anyone who dares to have contrary opinions, this princess will show no mercy and expel them from the manor. She paused for a moment, then continued. It is just that when I looked at the books and saw a deficit of nearly 5 million taels, I truly felt dizzy, especially the accumulated interest, which made even Victor take a deep breath, let alone others. Everyone's face was pale, secretly thankful that they didn't speak up to accept the job. On the way back to our small courtyard with this mess, Victor wanted to say something several times. But I just leaned on his shoulder. We had told each other whether sweet or bitter, we would share it together. With such high interest rates, who could shoulder it? How could the prince and princess consort even think of touching this kind of debt? Victor asked me what I planned to do. I replied that I could use the name of the prince's estate to ask the Chen family to act as a bridge, then approach the richest family in Jiangnan, the Shen family, to borrow silver. That was the first option. The second option is to cooperate in business with the Shen family, using their money to generate profit. Victor raised his eyebrows and asked, "Will the Shen family be willing to lend silver?" I replied, "With the Chen family acting as guarantor, they will agree. Moreover, this silver doesn't necessarily have to come from the Shen family. The Chen family is wealthy, but in name, it still has to come from the Shen family. The Chen family already gave me such a large dowry. If they now provide more silver, it will surely attract attention." Victor pondered for a while, then said, "I didn't expect the prince's estate to be so heavily in debt." I replied, "Who could have expected it? No one thought of it. Even when you married me, bringing a daughter-in-law into the prince's estate, you had to borrow 30,000 taels of silver. It even bore the prince's private seal. Truly the most laughable story in the world." "Perhaps they intended to hide it, not wanting anyone to know." Victor asked again. "Why hide it? Wouldn't revealing a little news be better? A gold can never be pure, people can never be perfect. If we owed no one, people would say the prince's estate embezzled and was corrupt. But with so much debt, wouldn't people understand that the prince's estate is clean and upright? Otherwise, how could we owe so much?" Victor pondered for a moment, then stood up and said, "You rest well. I will go discuss this with father." Before, everything was hidden for fear of being laughed at, so it was kept tight. But maintaining a reputation is one thing, facing reality is better, isn't it? Victor didn't return for dinner, but the prince sent the kitchen to bring several sumptuous dishes. I only ate a few bites perfunctorily, then told the maids to clear it away and share it with everyone. Suddenly, Martha Min rushed in, blaming me. "Why are you so bold? With so much debt, you still dare to accept it?" I just smiled faintly. "If not, then what? In whatever position, one must fulfill one's responsibilities. If I didn't accept, wouldn't you all look down on me? I consider this a good opportunity. As long as I pay off the debts and give birth to a legitimate grandson, my position as princess consort of the Heir will be firm forever. By then, I will also stand firm in the prince's estate. Who would dare use my status as a concubine's daughter as an excuse? Isn't that right, sister-in-law?" Martha Min glared at me with resentment, then said, "This is all the silver I can contribute. Don't make me lose it all." I smiled, looking at the Jing River. "Sister-in-law, please help me ask the other sisters-in-law if anyone wants to contribute capital. The prince's estate has a big business deal. We don't need to interfere in the main affair, but we can earn a little profit from side tasks. This is a truly big deal, requiring Victor or the prince to show their faces to complete. Millions of taels of silver aren't something anyone can borrow from relatives. They do big things, we only need to contribute a small part and can earn a bit. Not to mention getting rich, but at least earning 18,000 taels. If lucky, maybe recovering 3 to 5,000 taels isn't impossible." My sisters-in-law each contributed a little. Although not as much as Martha Min, they were all cautious. What surprised me more was that even the princess consort, my mother-in-law, participated in this business. Were they really lacking silver that much? Oh my heavens. After clarifying family matters, Victor laughed and said that his illegitimate brothers no longer caused trouble or set traps for him. Instead, they focused on making money. Whether for their small families or the prince's estate, everyone became united like never before. Even on New Year's Eve, when I followed him into the palace, Her Majesty the Empress pulled me aside to chat for quite a while. "In the past, I thought you marrying into the prince's estate was a blessing of several lifetimes. Now thinking back, it is Victor marrying you that is his blessing." I replied, "Your Majesty, believe it or not, between me and the Heir, there isn't too much power or money involved. The hardest thing in the world is true love. The Empress advised us, husband and wife, to live happily together." After the palace banquet, we returned home. Then came the New Year's Eve reunion dinner. Because I was pregnant, I didn't need to do much work, only helping mother distribute rewards to the maids and servants. From early morning, everyone was surprised, thinking there would be no rewards this year, but there were. Everyone was overjoyed. Just as Martha Min said, how much could the rewards be? Truth be told, the biggest expense was taking care of the elders. Money flowed out like water. Don't think that the noble prince's estate stood above everyone. One word and people would serve immediately. Money still had to be given. Give too little, and people would gossip behind your back. Now it was good. The prince's estate owed several million taels. For a while, no one dared to come borrow anymore. Let's see who dares to act arrogantly. This is also a measure of the human heart. Victor placed a bowl of sweet soup in front of me, smiling. Wife, try and see how it tastes. I leaned closer to him, smiling. Thank you, husband. This was truly a person who made it hard for me to believe. Calling him the Heir wasn't wrong, yet just adding husband with a loving tone made him happy all day. Knowing my husband was like this, I just spoiled and loved him. The sweet soup was a bit too sweet. I could only eat 2 bites before putting the bowl down. He naturally picked it up and ate spoonful by spoonful, even asking me, "Do you want to eat more?" Everyone around looked towards me. How could I eat more? Truly, the affection between the Heir and his consort was deep. Martha Min spoke, her voice mixed with a bit of bitterness, constantly glancing at me. Clearly, she wanted me to mention the adoption. Having a child by her side would also be a support. I gently nudged Victor. He put down the bowl, wiped his mouth with a napkin, then spoke up. A sister-in-law can also adopt a child. Having a child by your side will add more joy. If not from the Lin clan, you can also adopt from the Min clan. Everyone was astonished to hear Victor say such things. Martha Min looked bewilderedly at the prince and princess consort. Father, mother, the Heir's words are also correct. This daughter-in-law also wants a few children around her, so she will look less about nonsense, she whispered. The prince remained silent. The princess consort immediately asked, "Have you thought of anyone yet?" "I want to choose a child from the Min clan." Martha Min's voice grew smaller. Adopting a child from the Min family, bearing the surname Lin, becoming the legitimate son of the first branch. In the future, he will have a share of the inheritance. The princess consort suddenly sneered meaningfully. "So you all have thought it through. Why ask me and the prince anymore?" The princess consort said coldly. "Just do as you wish. Only one thing from now on, you are not allowed to cause trouble. Otherwise, I won't spare you." Martha Min immediately knelt down and kowtowed in thanks. "Thank you, father. Thank you, mother. From now on, this daughter-in-law will behave and dare not cause trouble anymore. A child, a share of the inheritance, both a support and a hope." If Martha Min felt that was fine, then let it be so. On the night of the 30th, after the reunion dinner and giving red envelopes to the children, we began the vigil. Although burdened with debt, I noticed that no one in the manor seemed worried. They still ate and drank as usual. In reality, the person who should be worried was me. Since my mother passed away, this was the new year I felt was the warmest and most complete. Beside me was Victor. In my belly was Archad. In his arms, he talked about plans for the new year, praying for peace, smoothness, and everything to go as wished. I didn't know when I fell asleep. The sound of firecrackers welcoming the new year woke me up, but I really couldn't get out of bed. I turned over and slept again until Fanny woke me up for lunch. Only then did I discover 18 brocade pouches by my pillow. "These are red envelopes the Heir gave to the madam," Fanny said. I smiled and opened each one. Inside were small poems. I arranged them in rows, feeling like I saw 18 New Year's Eves full of joy and happiness with his companionship. As for the red envelope I gave him, it was very mundane, a banknote for 100,000 silver taels. I knew he had his own pride. Usually, he never asked me for money. I also never asked where he earned money to buy me hairpins, bracelets, or snacks. Wait until he returned, I would ask. "Do you like the red envelopes I gave you?" "I like them," I replied. "And you, husband, do you like the red envelope I gave you?" He replied, looking a bit uncomfortable. "It feels like being kept by a wealthy lady." He stroked his face, looking serious but joking. "This face of mine probably ranks high among gigolos," he continued. "But I still prefer earning money myself to support my wife. Dislike it. Then next time I won't give any more." Madam, this husband dares not complain. This husband is rejoicing in his heart. Madam not only takes care of clothing and food but also thinks for a poor man like me. But about Madam giving silver, only this time. No next time. I nodded repeatedly, intending to let the matter pass. Unexpectedly, 2 months later, he brought back 20,000 taels, saying he pooled capital with friends to do business and earned a sum. This was the profit. The capital would be divided in a few months. I couldn't help but wonder. "Did you do business before?" He replied. "Before, everyone thought I was the heir of a prince's estate and didn't need to worry about money, so no one invited me to cooperate. But now everyone knows the prince's estate has a huge debt. They think they can make a profit, so they invite me to join this and that. Pooling it together becomes a lot. Truly, with many friends, The road of life opens wider. I admire you to death. I hurriedly told him to take the silver the sisters-in-law had pooled and bring it out to see if any business could be done. After all, earning a little was good. Leaving it with me made everyone worry. He shook his head but finally accepted it. By March, he said he had to go to Jiangnan to discuss borrowing money from the Chen family. If successful, how much interest, how long to pay off, everything had to be written clearly in documents. He promised to return before July, in time to welcome the child's birth, and then take the imperial examination. 1,000 words, 10,000 letters, I only uttered one sentence. Success or failure, I only hope you return safely. A broken boat still has 3 pounds of nails. A dead camel is bigger than a horse. When at a dead end, there is still the way of selling antiques and paintings. I would contribute a little more to pay off that debt of 5 million taels with high interest. In the past few months cleaning the warehouse, I discovered quite a few paintings were moldy due to poor preservation, and wood was rotting. I didn't know if the princess consort truly knew how to manage assets or not. As for the items the rooms were using, after discussing with the prince and princess consort, I decided to leave them to them, no need to return. Later, if they broke or damaged anything, they would handle it themselves. If they felt lacking, they could come to find me to see how to compensate. But no one spoke up about that. Then I found some more antiques and paintings to sell at the shop. These things couldn't be taken when dying, nor were they useful. Leaving them for long only added mold and damage. Better to sell them for silver to pay debts. As soon as I finished speaking, the whole room looked at me. The prince was silent for a long time, finally agreeing to sell the paintings and calligraphy. The prince's estate is selling paintings and calligraphy. Even though some were damaged, people fought to buy them, almost coming to blows. I had an idea and quickly found a shop to auction them to the highest bidder. I even convinced my sisters-in-law to go back to their maternal homes to find a few more items to sell. Incidentally, I also took the opportunity to do business by selling antiques and paintings for family members and other households, helping merchants trade back and forth. How did this profession start? I was vague about it. Anyway, I earned a fortune. By the time Victor returned, I was also about to give birth. Despite rumors that he had died on the road, he returned safely. People heard the prince's estate opened an auction and sold everything. I thought until my brain was flexible. Coming up with this wonderful idea, I didn't intentionally think of it, it was just luck and coincidence. Originally, I only intended to sell things in my own warehouse. Who expected outsiders to like them so much? So I helped sell goods for other houses too. Then noble families came to sell more and more. Merchants passing by who didn't intend to trade also participated. And so it became a business. Don't say I was surprised, even the prince and princess consort were silent for a long time. Who expected there were so many rich people, missing an arm, broken leg, they still liked buying antiques. Paintings missing a few strokes were still cherished. Some truly loved them. Some just imitated elegance. Some wanted to make connections through it. Anyway, the house now had no more tattered, useless things. What surprised me more was that the emperor also sought the prince to ask for help selling a few items. Was the emperor short of money? He wasn't short, but the national treasury was empty. Truly fitting the saying, those with money are very rich, the poor have only 2 taels of silver to spend all year. The poor starve. The rich have wealth reaching the sky, I said. We should use a part to open a charity hall to shelter homeless beggars. Those beggars are truly pitiful. Homeless, lured and caught by human traffickers, legs broken, poisoned to be mute, becoming tools for them to earn money. Those children with serious illnesses cannot be saved, but some still have a little hope. It is just that treatment requires too much money and medicine. The prince asked if I had thought carefully. Father, calculating the current scale of the auction house, in less than a year, the debts have been paid off. Earning several million taels a year, with so much silver, can we spend it all? Do we truly deserve to use so much silver? Can the emperor sit still watching us earn so much? Of course not. Not to mention the emperor, even when the crown prince ascends the throne, he won't either. The crown prince also doesn't want to see his maternal grandfather's family earn all the silver, so we must be ready to spend it where necessary. The prince was silent for a long time, then said, "Receiving you is the crown prince's blessing, and also the blessing of my prince's estate." On the 2nd of August, I safely gave birth to the eldest daughter of Victor and me. Being a father for the first time, Victor didn't even know how to hold the baby. He just sat by the cradle staring. He said this child was more beautiful than any child he had ever seen. He could praise her all day without stopping, without repeating a sentence. He said he had to study hard to pass the exam for fame. Otherwise, he wouldn't be worthy of me. I didn't understand what nonsense he was saying. Our eldest daughter was named Bonnie Lynn. It was a name her father selected from thousands of names after flipping through countless books, his eyes red from staying up late. Since birth, this child received boundless love. Truly, she never suffered any pain or disaster. Born noble enough, being the legitimate granddaughter of the prince's estate, her father passed the exam to become the third-place scholar, also known as the flower snatcher. Why third place? Not because his essay wasn't good, but because the top scholar and second place were both old, and their appearances weren't outstanding. The third-place scholar has traditionally always been a handsome man. Because he was too handsome, Victor missed the position of top scholar, but he was very happy to enter the Hanlon Academy as a small compiler. Often, he hardly went to work, just staying home to play with his daughter. Victor said, "Our house now has a lot of money. If we have more power, the emperor will suspect the crown prince even more." Bonnie's first birthday party was organized extremely grandly. The prince used his name to donate 2 million taels of silver to border soldiers, used to care for injured soldiers with missing limbs. After protecting their family and country, they wouldn't have to struggle because disability prevented them from farming or walking. The auction house I'd earned 4 to 5 million taels of silver each year. The prince's estate only kept 1 million. 2 million were donated to border soldiers, another million was offered to the emperor, and the remaining million was given to the crown prince to buy food to distribute to the poor everywhere. Thanks to this, the crown prince's reputation rose higher and higher. This business wasn't without people eyeing it, nor without those coveting it. Many people wanted a share of the profit. But the prince's estate did very well. I earned money. As long as one has a calculating mind, one knows immediately how much was earned. I kept 1/5. Could I keep it? Even the emperor had to say, "Of course you can keep it." The remaining 4/5 were used for court affairs, for the people, building bridges and opening roads. The prince's estate frequently donated fabric. The female relatives of the prince's estate never interrupted their monthly donations. I felt the passing days were truly comfortable and peaceful. I learned many things, had a prestigious status, going out, who wouldn't respectfully call me princess consort. But the only thing that bothered me was that Bonnie was already 3 years old, eating rice at 4, yet I still hadn't become pregnant again. Feelings between Victor and me had no problems. We were still affectionate, loving, laughing, arguing, and inseparable. At night in the same room, joy was not lacking. It was just that I couldn't get pregnant. Everyone advised me to relax my mind. Victor also said children would come naturally when the time came. If I couldn't give birth anymore, we would adopt a nephew from his brothers to continue the lineage. Doctors changed one after another. Everyone said I had no problem. Victor also had no problem. Watching Bonnie running and jumping happily, I thought if the fate for children was thin, I had to accept it. Having an obedient daughter and a thoughtful husband, there were no regrets. Then one day, Victor was injured all over. I felt dizzy, my voice trembling as I asked, "Where is he? Is it severe?" "In the front courtyard. Bleeding a lot. The doctor has arrived." My legs went soft, but I still tried to walk there. Sophie said a lot, but I didn't hear a word. I looked towards the bed where Victor lay unconscious. A voice rang out asking, "What did you just say?" The Heir was injured saving the Prime Minister's daughter. I nodded to show I understood. The Prime Minister's daughter, Vanessa, I had met once. She was a beautiful, delicate young lady, but I had never seen her approach me many times, her eyes looking at Victor without hiding the intent to possess my husband. Now my husband saved her. Was it random or planned? I really wasn't clear. I married Victor at 17. Now 4 or 5 years had passed. Was I old? I looked at Victor and sighed. If he liked young, beautiful girls and wanted to take a concubine, I wouldn't stop him. If he wanted to leave me to marry someone else, I was also willing to fulfill his wish. Just let me take Bonnie and my dowry. As for who he liked, he could do as he pleased. Now that he was out of danger, I also understood my heart clearly, so I felt more assured. I stayed by his side for a long time, then stood up to stretch my muscles. Victor held my hand. "Don't go. I'm hurt." I glared at him. I didn't know where he learned that spoiled behavior. Afraid of pain but using his hand to block a knife for someone. Served him right, he said. When saving people, I didn't have time to think much. After falling, I regretted it. If something really happened to me, What would happen to you and Bonnie? What would happen? Someone is willing to marry me. I would naturally take Bonnie and remarry. You dare? Victor shouted, looking fierce as if wanting to swallow me whole. I wasn't afraid of him. If you don't want me to become a widow, don't want Bonnie to call someone else father, you should prioritize your safety. I don't believe around the Prime Minister's daughter there were no maids and old women knowing martial arts. Even when I go out, the maids are experts. The old women also know martial arts, not to mention the guards and drivers going along, who isn't an expert guarding a region. Victor was stunned. Did I do wrong? Saving people isn't wrong. If it was a coincidence, you reaching out to help is a righteous act. But if she had intentions, just wait and see. The Prime Minister's estate will come to the door to thank you very lively, making everyone know. Vanessa expressed even more. Unable to repay the saving grace, she only wished to use her body to repay. Victor stood dumbfounded. Everyone waited to see how I would react, but I had no reaction at all. The story of Victor and me had long spread everywhere. Everyone knew we were united because of a saving grace. Now the Prime Minister's daughter copied me. What else to say? Victor brought it on himself. Let him solve it himself. I told Fanny to pack up, especially the dowry and the dolls Bonnie loved. Just one sentence from Victor, and we would immediately return to Jiangnan. Vanessa even asked to meet me. Originally I didn't want to reply, but because many people were waiting to see a show, I went. She was truly beautiful, shedding tears miserably, bowing gently and saying, "Princess consort, please look at my sincere heart and allow me into the manner to care for the Heir to repay his saving grace. Please rest assured, I will not destroy the feelings between you and the Heir. I will respect you as the mistress, serving you morning and afternoon." I laughed. A noble lady yet like this. You found the wrong person. The one who saved you isn't me. The person you desire isn't me either. If he wants to marry you, I cannot stop him, nor will I seek death because of it. Although I come from a humble background, I know propriety, righteousness, integrity, and shame. I do not need a promiscuous, two-hearted man, even if he comes from a noble background. Still the same sentence in the future, don't come find me. Looking at your fake appearance, I really want to vomit. I stood up intending to leave, but she suddenly knelt down, pulling the hem of my robe, crying and begging. "Princess consort, please give me a chance." I frowned, speaking in a low voice. "Let go." Outside, people are watching the joke. I didn't understand how she could be shameless to this extent. This kneeling not only lost her own face, but also smeared the Prime Minister's estate, making her parents have no place to hide. How could sisters in the clan face anyone? Just for a man. Was it worth it? I looked at her and said, "Let go." My answer remains unchanged. You are begging the wrong person. Today I came to meet you only because both you and I are women, and this world is too harsh on us. You should go beg Victor, because he saved you. I will say it one last time. If he wants it, I won't object. As soon as I finished speaking, Victor's loud shout rang out from outside. "Move." Everyone moves for me. Victor walked in, immediately pushed that person away, asking me worriedly, "Madam, are you hurt?" I shook my head slightly. Victor immediately protected me, standing behind me, then called Sophie to remove all the room doors. I didn't understand what he wanted to do. Vanessa sobbed again. The Heir, my heart is sincere. Seeing her like that, Victor was truly furious. I spit on it. If I knew early on you were this kind of person, I wouldn't have saved you from the start. I had the heart to save you. Is this how you repay? You are returning kindness with enmity. My wife and I have harmonious feelings, yet you butt in. You are a homewrecker. You are the kind of shameless woman I have met for the first time. Victor cursing like that was considered polite. If allowed to really curse, perhaps the ancestors of 8 generations of the Prime Minister's estate would rise from their graves. Victor had always created an impression to outsiders as gentle and polite, liking to do good deeds, courteous to everyone. This was the first time he scolded someone, and a young lady at that. The crowd watching the excitement was so large it filled the restaurant, leaving no room to squeeze in. I thought, having reached this point, the Prime Minister's daughter would retract her intention and leave. Unexpectedly, she turned to criticize me. She is just a merchant's daughter. What is she worthy of entering the prince's estate? She can't even give birth to a son. Victor was shaking with anger, stepping forward. I thought he intended to hit her. I tried to pull him back but couldn't. He growled. Based on what? Based on the fact that she is more beautiful than you, more virtuous than you, and more educated than you. Not like you, knowing no propriety, righteousness, integrity or shame, eyeing someone else's husband. Are you short of men? If you are short, tell your father to find 10 or 8 men to send to the brothel as prostitutes. Take as many as you want. Sounds of gasping didn't cease. Vanessa forgot to even cry. He was a flower snatcher. Third-place scholar, yet could utter such harsh words. You look down on my wife because of her merchant background. But she has saved countless lives, helped so many people. You can only pick on her because of her origin. But no matter what, I knelt for 3 days and 3 nights in front of the ancestral hall to beg my parents' agreement before being able to bring her home with the 3 matchmakers, 6 betrothal gifts, and an 8-bearer sedan chair. I swore that in this life I would walk side by side with her, never leaving, never abandoning, never taking a concubine. You are the daughter of the Prime Minister, but only know how to use origin to talk. I despise you. I despise even your father for giving birth to you, but not teaching you well. A person like you, saying a few more sentences makes me feel disgusted. You make me feel that risking my life to save someone was truly disgusting. Victor turned to look at me. Madam, let's go home. I nodded vigorously. Tears couldn't be held back and fell. He reached out to wipe my tears. Madam, don't cry. In my heart, you are the best person in the world. Meeting and marrying you is the blessing of my 3 lifetimes. The crowd watching the excitement immediately parted ways for Victor to hold my hand and leave the restaurant. From that day on, I fear the Prime Minister's daughter dared not step out of the house again. It was even hard to live long. She was truly too humiliated. Her words and actions were shameless and despicable. Getting on the carriage, I hugged Victor and cried loudly. I cried because he protected me. Cried because I had thought of abandoning him. Crying for what? Your eyes are red from crying. I hit him a few times. Next time don't save women anymore. He laughed. Right, I won't save anymore. That was truly a crazy person. That's right. A truly crazy person. Since then, the Prime Minister's daughter truly couldn't step foot out of her estate. Several years later, no news was heard of her. The Prime Minister personally came to the prince's estate to apologize, but Victor didn't meet him. The prince didn't meet him either. Even the doors of the prince's estate didn't open. The fact that Victor protected me made many people red-eyed with jealousy, but they consoled themselves that I couldn't give birth to a son. Actually, recently Victor tried even harder, making me so tired I couldn't straighten my back. Many times I chased him out of the room, but he still brazenly called out, Madam, we should have another one. Only later did I know. He thought that a woman being pregnant and giving birth wasn't easy. 3 years 2 children, 5 years 3 children. Was very damaging to health and reduced lifespan. So the reason I couldn't get pregnant in past years was because he secretly took medicine. Truly, I couldn't get angry, nor could I laugh. Sometimes I asked myself what the hardest years were like, but I couldn't remember a bit. Madam, I'm hooked. In our old age, he became even more talkative, never leaving me half a step wherever we went. But his feelings for me remained as in the beginning, never changing. In families like ours, people often say, more children. More blessings. But in my whole life, I only had 1 daughter and 1 son. Yet, I was loved by Victor for a lifetime, protected for a lifetime, respected for a lifetime, and cherished for a whole lifetime. Diana's journey teaches us that dignity is not defined by birth, but by the courage to escape darkness and build one's own light. She proves that a woman's greatest strength lies in self-reliance and intelligence. Ultimately, her story is a testament to true love. A bond where a husband fiercely protects his wife's honor, and she stands as his equal partner. It reminds us that the most enduring romance is built on mutual respect, unwavering loyalty, and the shared will to weather every storm together. Story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please